Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku became Vengefu Part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see Part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story Erei-Ultima from Wattpad. So let's start the video. In this world, dreams aren't always in reach. People can be left battered and torn to pieces. In this world, there is no love for the quirkless. In this world, there are heroes, and where there are heroes, there are villains. 4 years ago, Izuku Midoriya was in his last year of junior high school. His dream was to get into the top hero school, 𝗧𝗵𝗲, but slowly that dream was dying. He was born quirkless and has been bullied ever since the day he told his childhood friend Katsuki Bakugo. Ever since he found out that he was quirkless, people would look at him and treat him differently. He was treated as an outcast. The entire school knew he was quirkless thanks to his childhood friend always bad-mouthing him in front of everyone. Yet, the weird thing is he has always looked up to Katsuki as a role model despite his crude, arrogant, and aggressive personality. His goal was to be good enough to fight alongside Katsuki as his equal. As students rushed out of the classroom so that they could leave for the day, Izuku was still sitting at his desk trying to finish up the notes that he had been taking. As he finished up his last side note, his journal was snatched from him by a pissed-off Bakugo who had 2 of his so-called friends trailing behind him. "What the hell do you think you're doing, nerd?" Izuku fell silent. "Answer me, you demon nerd," Katsuki shouted, making the smaller green-haired boy jump. Izuku was so tired of always being scared of Katsuki. He couldn't eat, he couldn't look around, he couldn't write, or even breathe without the taller blonde getting irritated with him. "I was just taking notes, Kaken." "Notes? What do you mean, these stupid hero notes?" "Well, you know what? Here's what I think of your stupid notes." Using his explosive quirk, he blew up the book, then tossed the remains out of the window. Izuku's heart shattered at the sight of years of observation and his work being blown up in his face and tossed out the window like his dreams. "Here's a thought, Deku. Quit writing down SHT that ain't even gonna help you later on. What's the point of writing this SHT down when you'll never become a hero anyway? Here's another suggestion. The world doesn't need a worthless Deku like you. Why don't you just make it easier on all of us and take a swan dive off of a roof or something? Who knows? Maybe you'll actually get a good quirk in the next life." He laughed as he exited the classroom, leaving a young, devastated Izuku behind in the classroom. Midoriya quickly looked out of the window to see if he could spot where his journal had landed. Izuku looked left and right and soon spotted his hero analysis journal in the school's fountain. He quickly ran out of the classroom and out of the school building to retrieve it. Once he stood in front of the fountain, he took a moment to catch his breath before pulling the journal that looked as if it had gone to hell and back out of the fountain. Why does he treat me like this? Why did he have to change? Maybe, just maybe, it would be better if I were to just disappear. My mother has already given up hope on me. My own mother told me that I couldn't be a hero. Kaken lost all faith in me the moment I told him that I would be quirkless. If I can't be a hero, then what's left for me to do? Nobody would care if I were to disappear anyways." Izuku wiped the tears that had started to stream down his face and started to make his way home. Izuku walked through the door and kicked off his shoes. His mother was sitting on the couch watching TV. "Hey Mom, I'm back," Izuku said with fake enthusiasm. "Welcome back, honey. I didn't even hear you come through the door." Izuku let out a light chuckle before carrying his bag up the stairs to his room. "Oh, Mom, I won't be eating dinner tonight. I'm not really that hungry and I have a ton of homework that I need to get done," he shouted from upstairs. "Are you sure? I made your favorite." "That's okay, I'll be fine," he said as he closed his door, then flopped onto his bed. He craved for happiness, but at this point in his life, he had nearly forgotten what it felt like to be truly happy. The biggest letdown in his life is scattered all over his room in the form of posters, clothes, and action figures. The #1 hero, All Might himself. "All Might, I wish you could save me from myself. I wish you could save me from the hell that I'm forced to live through every day, hee. But I guess even those with quirks have their limits. Besides, why would All Might want to help me? I'm just a waste of space anyway." "You can become a hero?" he says. What a joke, I guess, when he said that he wasn't thinking about the The other 20% of the population who can't do SHT but get in the way. He took a deep breath, not wanting to cry any more than he already had. Izuku sighed as he laid his ruined journal by the window, hoping that some sunlight will help it dry. The 14-year-old stared at all of the posters of All Might in his room. As he stared at them, he thought back to all of the good moments that he had with Katsuki. The days that they would stare at the TV screen and watch the news whenever there was a story about All Might, or even to play All Might video games together. The tears soon started to drip down his face again, but it wasn't out of sadness, he was angry. He quickly stood up and walked over to the first poster his eyes laid on and tore it off of his wall. He tore the poster off of the wall above his bed, above his TV, by his closet, then he moved on to the action figures. He threw them all into a box of old toys and threw it into his closet. Once he was finished cleansing his rooms, he felt exhausted. He soon kneeled down to the ground and laid his head down on his bed, not even thinking about his halfway finished homework that he started in class as he fell asleep. Izuku woke up, but he wasn't all there. He felt dead to the world. He didn't want to go to school, he didn't want to go out and socialize. He was powerless. He felt unworthy to even be in a school filled with gifted students and teachers, but unfortunately he knew that he had to go. His mother would worry if he just suddenly didn't want to go. He hated his classmates, he hated his teachers for not trying to help him, he hated the constant bullying, the torment that Bakugo's friends would put him through without the blonde knowing, the judging stares that everyone would give him, he hated being quirkless, he hated being alive. He slowly but surely got out of bed and made his way to the bathroom, washed up, and got dressed in a fresh school uniform. He then came back into his room and grabbed his now-dried hero analysis journal, planning on rewriting it in another journal that he has yet to write in. Who knows? It might not help him become a hero, but he was sure that it would help him out eventually. Izuku made his way downstairs to sit and have breakfast with his mom, putting on the same fake smile that he always did. Once breakfast was finished, he looked at the time and mentally frowned at the thought that he was going to be late if he didn't run now. "Bye, Mom, I'll see you later," Izuku shouted as he ran out of the door. "Okay, come back safely." Izuku was halfway there to his school when he suddenly tripped and fell onto the hard cement, making him drop his journal. Well, look who it is. The quirkless boy of the school himself, Izuku Midoriya. The green-haired boy looked up with a dead gaze to see that it was two of Katsuki's friends. What a nerd. I bet even after yesterday, you still dream of getting into you. If you graduate. How stupid is that? The tallest boy said as he kicked Izuku's stomach. I think it's about time you learn your place. One of the two said as they all crowded around Izuku and proceeded to kick him, making sure to litter his body with bruises. The beating had ended with Izuku puking up his breakfast after being kicked in the stomach one too many times. The boys laughed at the quirkless boy as they walked away from him. Stay in your place, Deku. One of them shouted, making Izuku cringe from the nickname. He laid on the ground and cried until he heard the sound of footsteps approach him and pick up his journal. The man was wearing dark gray ripped jeans and a black hoodie. The stranger then picked up his journal off of the ground and looked through it after dusting it off. Izuku slowly rose off of the ground and sat on his knees and looked up at the stranger. Go ahead, laugh at me just like everyone else does. A quirkless nerd like me will never be able to become a hero, so what's the point of taking all of those stupid notes, right? The boy had given up on the world that he lived in. He hated the life that he lived. Day in and day out it felt like torture to just exist in a world that he wasn't wanted in. At this point, he couldn't care less about what could happen. The stranger hands the boy back his journal and says, Actually, I find it amazing that everything is so spot on about the heroes. Are you sure that you don't have an analysis quirk or anything? I'm positive, Izuku replied. The man then took off his hoodie and smiled at the young boy. Well, hey, here's an idea. Izuku slowly looks up at the man with a pained look on his face. He took the time to observe the man in front of him. The man was slim with deathly pale skin and wrinkles around his eyes. His lips are chapped and uneven, with visible scars on his right eye and under his lip. He has messy grayish-blue hair of varying lengths. He had bright red irises that were small, and the shape of his eyes seemed to be stretched wide in a rather maniacal manner. Soon he was broken out of his train of thought as the man spoke again. You and I are the same, kind of. Izuku raises an eyebrow at this. How so? Are you quirkless? Shigaraki replies, no. I do have a quirk. Anything I touch decays anyways. It seems that you and I are both victims of this world. Nobody wants us because we're different. All I wanted to do was to become a hero. I thought that maybe with a strong, caring heart I'd be a great hero. A sidekick even, but I can't be anything without a quirk, the boy said as a few tears streamed down his face. Well, I wouldn't say that there isn't anything you can do. What about becoming a villain? Now that would be a good idea to me. You have nothing to lose in all honesty. You could show the people that like to put you down that you're stronger than they think and you're fully capable of kicking their butts despite them having quirks. What do you say? Not a pretty bad deal, right? Izuku slowly got back onto his feet, holding his stomach in pain. I could take revenge on those that hurt me. Yes, you could join me, kid, and I'll be sure to help you get your revenge. Izuku's eyes widened slightly at the possible thought of someone actually wanting him. He hesitantly reached out, took the man's hand. Who are you? Izuku asked. Tomura Shigaraki. Izuku Midoriya. And nice to meet you. How are you even gonna put me to use? Tomura smiled at the young boy and helped him off the ground. Let me introduce you to some friends of mine. Oh, but I must ask you. Are you sure? You won't be able to see your parents after this. Tomura asked. Izuku let out a small chuckle. She gave up on me. It doesn't matter to me if she misses me or not. Tomura nodded, then grinned as he pulled Izuku through a warp gate. This was the day that a web of lies and deception was weaved. When the dark mass that was the warp gate cleared, Izuku realized that he was in a bar. Wow, what kind of quirk was that? Izuku was instantly intrigued. That was a quirk called Warp Gate done by my friend that's behind the bar, Kurogiri. Kurogiri bowed politely to them. Shigaraki, who is this child? Kurogiri asked. I'm glad you asked. This here is our new friend, Izuku Midoriya. I feel that he can be of use to us. And how might that be? Another question that I'm glad you asked. Midoriya, show him that analysis journal that you have. Shigaraki ordered. Izuku handed Kurogiri the journal, and as the bartender read through the journal, he couldn't help but observe him. He wanted to understand what exactly Kurogiri was. He placed his thumb underneath his chin as he thought for a moment. His body seems to be made out of a black fog or mist. So this must mean, based on what I saw, he can create and manipulate the dark fog and make it act as a portal. So maybe when he produces a mass of the dark fog, it can transport anything it comes in contact with to a nearby location. Are his metal plates a weakness? Do they help maintain his figure? Does it keep the fog from dispersing? Is his power limited? Maybe he can only transport things to a location that he knows. Tomura and Kurogiri stared in shock at the young boy. Izuku didn't realize that he had been speaking out loud. So, does the boy have an analysis quirk? Kurogiri asked, snapping Izuku out of his thoughts. I asked him the same thing apparently. He said that he was quirkless. Kurogiri couldn't believe that the boy was quirkless. His analysis of him was completely spot on. How could you possibly have this level of accuracy from just a short amount of observation and such a short amount of time? Kurogiri asked, dumbfounded. Izuku was confused as to what the black mass was asking him. Was I talking out loud again? I'm sorry, it's really a bad habit of mine. My childhood best friend used to always yell at me about that. It helps me sort out my thoughts sometimes. To the reason as to why I have such accuracy with analyzing stuff, I have no idea. I just take note of the things that I manage to see and the things that I hear. As you can see, Kurogiri, I want him because of his spot-on analysis of the heroes. With this information, we can learn the weaknesses of those DMN heroes and finally come up with a foolproof plan to eliminate them, and then we can finally destroy All Might. Your plan is to destroy All Might? Izuku asked. Shigaraki turned towards Izuku and with a smile on his face. Yes, and you're gonna help us? Izuku smiled lightly. All Might is not my main concern, but I will try to help you in any way that I can. How is he not your main concern? He's the one that's influenced society's way of thinking. He's the reason that people think that you're useless. Izuku's eyes widened at Shigaraki's words, then they quickly softened as he looked down at the ground. I know that I do have a hatred for him, but there's someone out there that I just hate even more than all. Might he ruin my life? Somehow I want to make him suffer just like the way he made me. Izuku gave a malicious smile. Oh, so you and I really do have something in common. Shigaraki chuckled and put his hand on Izuku's shoulder, keeping his index finger raised. Shigaraki, I'm willing to help you in any way I can, but only if you're willing to help me accomplish some of my goals as well. Shigaraki couldn't help but laugh. You have guts, kid, I like that. Luckily for you, my wish is to destroy everything. I'm sure we can figure something out. Izuku's eyes had brightened for the first time in a long time. Really? You mean you'll help me? Izuku asked with eyes full of hope. As long as you keep providing me with useful information. Izuku felt the happiest he has ever been in years. He had finally found a place where he belonged, where he was needed, and where he was wanted. Now, 𝗧𝗪𝗏. Show him to his room. We will continue the introductions and whatnot when everyone returns. After that, we'll start you on your training. Training? Izuku asked. He didn't know that he was gonna end up fighting so soon. Well, of course, we will have to send you out on missions occasionally, and you're gonna need to know how to fight and kill if you even want to think about accomplishing our goals. Kill? Of course, but don't worry. Once you start, you'll become numb. Killing will start to become natural to you. In fact, your training as a beginner will be to kill 3 people every 4 days. As you get better, I'll slowly start to add more. Izuku stared at the ground as he processed what he had been told, then simply nodded and left the room with 𝗧𝗪𝗏. So child, who is this person that you feel such hatred towards? 𝗧𝗪𝗏 asked. My best friend, your best friend. Yes, we were close as kids, always watching the heroes take down evil. Our favorite person in the whole world was All Might, but when I told him that I was quirkless, he started to treat me differently. He's always been aggressive, but he started getting physical with me. He turned everyone in the school against me. Everyone figured out about me being quirkless, and because he bullied me on a daily basis, everyone started to pick on me. They beat me almost every day because they knew that I couldn't do anything to them because of him. Everyone called me Deku. My dream was to become a hero, but even my mother lost faith in me. Everyone thought it was stupid for someone like me to even think about becoming a hero, and you know something? I'm starting to think that they were right. Do you see yourself getting anywhere as a villain? 𝗧𝗪𝗏 asked. Izuku stopped in his tracks to think for a moment. Did he see himself as a villain? Did he have a plan to carry out his revenge? The answer was yes. He knew exactly what he needed to do, and he knew exactly how to do it. Well, we'll just have to see now, won't we? Mitsuki, please open the door. Inko shouted as she knocked on the door of Bakugo's house. I'm coming. DMN. Hold your horses. She yelled as she came running down the stairs. Once she opened the door, she came face to face with a teary-eyed Inko. Please tell me that my baby boy is here with you. What? That boy never comes over here. Inko, what's going on? Mitsuki asked as she wrapped an arm around her crying friend. Katsuki came downstairs ready to eat breakfast and saw Inko talking to his mother. The hell is she here crying for? He mumbled to himself. He never came home. Inko cried. Izuku, you mean last night? Mitsuki questioned only to receive a nod. Well, how do you know that he's not with a friend or something? The only friend that he's ever had was Katsuki. That's why I came over here. I was hoping that maybe he and Katsuki had finally started to hang out again, and maybe he just forgot to call me to tell me where he had gone. But then this morning I decided to call the school to see if they had seen him, but they told me that he had never made it there. I told them that it was impossible because my son would never skip school, and I saw him leave the house yesterday morning. That's crazy. Mitsuki looked back at Katsuki only to receive a shrug from him. You think I actually know where that DMN nerd is? Because I don't. Watch your tongue, Katsuki. Bite me, old hag. Mitsuki cracked her knuckles, ready to make her son see the afterlife, then sighed and shook her head. Anyways, Inko, let's call the police and have a search party look for him. Katsuki sat down at the kitchen table and started to question what could have possibly happened to the boy. Did he actually take his advice? No, Deku was too much of a wimp to do such a thing. Why was he even thinking about the little SHT? He doesn't even like him 𝗧𝗵𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 introductions trying to process everything that was happening. From today on he'll be acting out as a member of the League of Villains. So far he's met Vengefu, a magna who has the quirk magnetism at 𝗧𝗵𝗲, a Mr. Compress. What his quirk is, was pretty self-explanatory thanks to his villain name, and last but not least 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗛𝗍, a twice, whose quirk was double. He grinned to himself, feeling a bit excited about his training that was gonna start today with twice. But he had to question himself, how long has he felt this way? How long has he wanted revenge on those who hurt him? What if he could meet All Might and ask him if there was any possible way that he could be a hero? Or would that all just be a waste of time? He can't even leave so that idea can be tossed out of the window. He almost started to feel bad about his poor mother who was probably freaking out over the fact that her poor baby was missing, but at the same time he didn't really care. He didn't care about anyone. He came to realize that a year ago, which is why he gave up on his dreams. Who would want to protect those selfish people anyways? If they're willing to beat up a quirkless citizen, then they will probably end up becoming a shitty hero. They don't even deserve quirks, Izuku would often think to himself. He wished that he could take their quirks from them. It would be so much better if they could just live a day in his shoes and experience how hard being quirkless truly was in this world. This is okay, sooner or later I'll have the power I need and the will to dash. He was brought out of his thoughts by the sound of someone knocking on his door. Izuku, are you decent? Kurohige asked. Yes, the green-haired boy replied. The door had been locked from the outside to make sure that he wouldn't try anything stupid. Kurohige opened the door and Izuku calmly waited in his chair for Kurohige to speak. Tamura Shigaraki would like to see you. He would. Is it time for my training now? Izuku asked. Not quite. He would like to give you something that can help you with your training. Izuku simply nodded and stood up and walked out of his room, then followed Kurohige until he was led to a small room where there was only one light hanging over an old wooden chair. What? Izuku asked out loud, completely confused about what he would possibly need to be in a room like this for. Midoriya, please, take a seat. Shigaraki grinned, but Izuku couldn't tell with the hand over his face. The heck is with the hand over his face? Is this a part of his villain costume? Does it help him in any way, or are they just there for a weird sort of style? He thought to himself as he made his way to the wooden chair and sat down. Shigaraki walked behind him and grabbed both of his arms, making sure to keep one finger on each hand, off of him, then pulled Izuku's arms behind his back. Izuku started to panic and struggle. Wait, what are you doing? I'm just gonna help you with your training, Shigaraki said as he manages to tie a rope around Izuku's wrists to keep him strapped to the chair. Do I have to be strapped down for this? Why are you doing this? Izuku asked. He felt as if Shigaraki was betraying him, but then again maybe he's just paranoid. Relax. It'll be over sooner if you stop struggling so much. What are you gonna do? Well, you can say I'm just giving you some medicine, Shigaraki said as he opened a small case holding a syringe. This will help you to be able to fight and take on missions without your emotions causing any conflict. He took the syringe out of the case and injected it into Izuku's arm. The boy squeezes his eyes shut, not wanting to look at the needle. After the syringe was taken out of his arms, Izuku was confused because he didn't feel any different. You'll be expected to take this shot every single day until I see that you're not in need of it, Shigaraki said. A few minutes pass by, then Izuku suddenly starts to see stars and his body starts to slump as he loses consciousness. Present day, a soon-to-be 18-year-old boy sat at the bar area of the League of Villains base. He had messy green hair and tips were dyed red. He had been writing in his journal for almost an hour, trying to analyze every detail that he could possibly get from a video that he was watching of a hero. Midoriya. Izuku looked up from his journal that he had been writing in. I done pissed him off again. The boy said with a roll of his eyes as Shigaraki approached him. Are you finished with those notes yet? No, and it's hard to take notes when you won't let me go out for myself and do what I do best, which is to observe, and when I do go out with you I'm rushed to kill the person without exactly seeing what they can do, or you make me kill a quirkless person. Not exactly helpful in my opinion. I also can't work if you're screaming at me every 10 minutes. Are you done yet? I mean no disrespect, but it's kind of hard. Izuku simply stated without a trace of emotion in his tone. You brat, don't talk to your leader in such a tone. I will slap you with all 5 fingers. Izuku just nodded with a blank look on his face, not even fazed by the threat. If I had $1 and a doggy biscuit for every time I heard that one, well, I'd just be rich with a fat and happy dog now, wouldn't I? Oh what? XD. His source for information was currently Toga. He would send her out on side missions to gather information for him by taking videos of heroes so that he could analyze their quirks, but it was hard to gather a full detailed report when he couldn't experience it for himself. He wanted to test them. The only thing he could find in the videos was what the quirks were, but he couldn't decipher how they worked, which was an important detail that he needed. Sir, I think it is time to truly test out how Izuku would do in the world on his own. If he's going to be a villain, then you do need Izuku at his full potential. Kurohige had suggested. But it's too dangerous to have him go out there. Not like anyone would remember me. There are only 2 people who would remember me, and that's my mother if she's still alive and my so-called best friend, Kakenwell, and maybe his mother, I don't know. If they are to be a problem, then I'll just stay away from them and stay in the general area. Izuku said with a shrug of his shoulders. 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗔𝗍𝗔. Toga ran over to him. She had just returned from one of her side missions. I got another video for you. Thank you so much, Toga. You are such a big help, you know that, don't you? Izuku made sure to be extra nice to Toga since she was his main source of info for the time being. Midoriya, you want to go outside, right? Shigaraki questioned him. That would be helpful, yes. Fine, but in case you get into trouble or decide to do anything stupid, you need a name. A name for the world to call you, Sweet Fucker 420, Izuku said with a straight face. What? Everyone looked at him confused. F 420. He chuckled as he leaned back into his seat. 𝗬𝗲𝗵𝗲 sat down in the seat in front of the younger boy and stared at him, making direct eye contact. You cannot be serious, 𝗬𝗲𝗵𝗲 said. You're right, I'm not. I want to be called Spite. Spite? Why that? Toga asked. Well, because DMN near everything that I plan on doing as a villain will be done out of spite, so why not? You know what? Whatever. Spite, it is just be back before dark. Shigaraki said. Izuku grinned, then quickly stood up. Bye, he said as he walked towards the door. You heard what I said, right? Be back before be. Izuku said as he slammed the door behind him. He took a deep breath and sighed. I haven't seen sunlight in so long. I'm demon near as pale as Shigaraki, at least I'm not crusty like him. Shigaraki sat where Izuku had been previously sitting and groaned. That boy has grown to be a real pain in the butt. Well, what do you expect? He hasn't seen the sun in 4 years, you only let him out at night. 𝗬𝗲𝗵𝗲 said. Shigaraki just let out another groan. Well, he'd better fix his attitude because soon it'll be time for him to finally meet All for One. Izuku walked out into the city, wearing black jeans and a black sleeveless hoodie. He kept his face uncovered since he knew that he probably wouldn't see anyone in this part of town. You know what? Since I'm finally out here, let's check to see if my mother is still alive. Someone suddenly bumped into him, since the place was crowded. Izuku took this time to grab the wallet that was hanging out of the man's side pocket. I'm sorry, Izuku said as he hid the wallet in his pocket. No, you're fine, the other male said as he continued to walk. Izuku chuckled softly as he pulled out the wallet. He's about to have a bad day. I have his pocket money, credit cards, and his ID. It's so easy to ruin someone's life just by making careless mistakes. Oh, he walked to his old neighborhood, putting on his hood when he started to recognize the buildings and homes. Once he saw his house come into view, he couldn't help but run to the house. He saw his mother's car in the driveway telling him that she was home. Mom. He crept over to the window and crouched down in front of it before peeking through it. He could see his mother sitting on the couch, the TV was off, and she was looking down at an old photo book. She looks so miserable. How adorable. Should I write her a note? No, I'd put myself at risk. If it gets out that I'm still alive, Shigaraki will try to turn me into dust. Izuku sighed dramatically. This sucks. I just want to have a bit of fun, but my existence can't be known quite yet, because then I'll be dragged back home after being questioned. Then who knows? they'll probably send me to therapy for whatever reason. I mean, there would be no point in sending me to therapy. I'm not broken. If anything is broken, it's this cruel world that we are forced to live in, and I'm talking to myself again. He sighed and shook his head, then soon moved away from the window so his mother wouldn't see him. He got back onto the sidewalk and continued his way up the street. Izuku didn't get too far because he stopped in front of one house in particular. A house that he found all too familiar. He smiled happily when he saw his childhood best friend leaning against the window as he typed away on his phone. Kaken. It's really. I'll come for you soon, and when I do I'll make sure that you suffer just like how I did. He let out a light giggle as he then continued up the street in a bit of a better mood than he was in earlier. He ended up at the old park that he and Katsuki used to come to as kids. This place hasn't changed a bit. Wow, he looked around at all of the kids playing, but then something or someone caught his eye. He saw a girl that looked to be a year younger than him with short brown hair and noticeably rosy pink chinks. She was wearing a black tank top and blue pants that reminded him of the training uniforms. Her looks weren't what caught his attention though. It was the rocks floating around her. He couldn't help himself but to run over to her and investigate. Hey, excuse me. He shouted as he ran over to her and pulled off his hood. 𝗧𝗲𝗄. Oh, hi there. The girl said as she let the rocks drop to the ground. Hi. I was just wondering what kind of quirk you have. Is it some sort of levitation quirk? It looked really cool. Izuku asked with excitement in his voice. The girl giggled lightly and shook her head. Nope. Close though. It's gravity. Gravity? So how does it work? Does it take a lot of focus or? Well, that too, but in order to make something float I have to touch it. The girl explained. So when you closed your hands did it release the rocks that were floating and that's why they suddenly fell? Exactly. That's amazing. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Oh, my name is Ochako Uraraka. Nice to meet you. Everyone calls me Deku. He gave a fake smile. He absolutely hated the name, but it was the only thing that came to mind. Deku. That's a funny name. But alright, nice to meet you, Deku. So what's your quirk? She asked with a kind smile. Izuku looked down for a moment, figuring that maybe she would start to treat him like an outcast as well, just like everyone did 4 years ago. He looked at her with a sad smile. I don't actually have one B, but I love learning about them. Oh, Ochako frowned at the taller boy's confession. Izuku took a step back until the brown-haired girl gave Izuku her best smile and held up her fist. Well, that's okay. Because you can do great things for people even without a quirk. Everyone knows that. This 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗵𝗃, Izuku thought to himself as his eyes started to twitch as she spoke. Really? Like what? Well, plenty of things. Like a detective. Or maybe a businessman or policeman, maybe even a comedian. Sounds boring. Well, except the detective part. That sounds pretty neat, I guess. So you look to be around my age. What school do you go to? Izuku asked. I go to Hi. Izuku's eyes widened as he realized that he had struck a gold mine. If he were to become friends with this girl, he could get information about the students and teachers there. Really? Well, can I ask a question? I mean, I've already asked you 50 million questions already, but I'm just so curious. I'm sorry, I was homeschooled, so I don't know too much about public schools, and due to myself being quirkless, I have no idea what a hero school could possibly be like. Izuku said, using the best lie that he could think of in less than 5 seconds. Oh, you're fine, Deku. What's your question? Well, do you know Kaken? Kaken. You sorry, I mean Katsuki. Katsuki. Katsuki Bakugo. Yeah, I know him. He's in my class. I heard he came in first place at the sports festival. Unfortunately, I missed it. He and I were best friends as kids, but we just grew apart. Is he still as aggressive as I remember him? Izuku asked with a smile. Ochako gave out a heavy sigh. Yeah, he is. I swear he just about yells everything he says. Izuku chuckled. Ochako seemed to be innocent and it was almost refreshing to see. That sounds like Kaken. If I had a quirk, then maybe he and I would have stayed close. I used to dream of being a hero. Can't do anything without a quirk though, right? You can still be a hero. All Might said that anyone can be a hero. So, despite you being quirkless, You can be who you want to be. Ochako held her fist against her chest in a confident pose. So she's been tainted as well. Her head is filled with lies just like everyone else. He thought to himself. Here's an idea. Maybe tomorrow you and I can hang out again. Ochako suggested. Izuku didn't care for the girl, but he knew that he needed her for gathering information. If he kept talking to her, then who knows what kind of info he could get from her about the students. All right. It sounds like fun. Where should we meet up? At the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall. You know where that is, don't you? Izuku simply nodded and smiled. All right, I'll see you tomorrow then. Maybe I should get your number, so that it'll be easier to find you tomorrow. Ochako took a second to think. You make an excellent point. The brunette pulled out her phone and pulled up the new contacts section for him and handed her phone to him. Here you go. Just put in your number and name, then I'll text you later so that you can have my number. Izuku nodded and did as she said, then gave the brunette back her phone. Plus cool. I'll see you tomorrow, Deku. Ochako waved to the taller male as she left to go home. Izuku smiled and waved to her as he watched her leave. Once Ochako was out of sight, he chuckled deeply. Tainted yet naive, this is almost too easy. He laughed to himself as he turned to head back to the base with a pep in his step. Where the hell is that 𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗃 child? Shigaraki shouted. Kurohige sighed deeply. Shigaraki had been pacing back and forth for the past 2 hours wondering where Izuku had gone. Calm down, you're acting like you're his dad or something. I'm sure he's fine, 𝗬𝗲𝗵𝗃 said. Just as the sentence left 𝗬𝗲𝗵𝗃's mouth, Izuku walked through the door with a grin on his face. Where the hell have you been? Shiga, calm down. I think instead of being angry with me because I came back half an hour before dark, might I add, you should be proud of me. Izuku folded his arms, copying Shigaraki's stance. Oh. And why do you figure? I'm glad you asked. I somehow managed to befriend someone who is a student. I can probably get a lot of information out of her if I just play nice. Wow. An actual student. All right, Izu. Can you please let me taste her BLD? Come on, please, Izu. Toga asked. Possibly. It would be a good way to sneak you into you. In fact, if you can turn into one of the students, I bet that you can sneak into their room that contains all of the students' information files. Twice got out of his seat and clapped, then hooked an arm around Izuku's shoulder. See, you just gotta let the boy be in his element. I knew there was no need to worry about you, kid, he said as he patted Izuku's shoulders. Why is this man touching me? Izuku thought to himself. Since when were you calling the shots, Midoriya? Shigaraki asked as he glared at the young boy. I'm not calling this 𝗧𝗍, all I'm doing is giving ideas, Izuku replied with a straight face, not even fazed by Shigaraki's glare. This man is getting on my nerves. If I ran this group, things would be getting done a lot sooner. All of these failed missions because he doesn't like the fact that I'm right. If he didn't want to accept that, then what the hell am I here for? At this rate, he'll be the cause of his own demise. Izuku had to restrain himself from smiling as he remembered the situation that he was in. Oh, by the way, I found something that might interest you, Midoriya, Magna said, holding up a piece of paper for him. Izuku tilted his head to the side as he walked towards Magna and grabbed the paper from her. He saw an old picture of himself with a sentence underneath it. You seen my son? Izuku read out loud. Ah, that's adorable. Toga grinned. I don't understand. Izuku set the paper down on the table. His eyes were narrowed as he started to get frustrated. That your mom misses you? Twice asked. No, I don't understand why I am being shown this. My mother misses me, and that's trivial information that I already know. She has missed me since the day I left, and yet, I don't care. I'm here to learn information about the heroes so that all of you can destroy the man that you all hate most. What I'm not here for is to learn about my own mother's mental health. If I were that curious, I'd find out for myself. Nice to know that she's miserable though, I already knew that, but please talk to me when you have something worth knowing about. Izuku left the room and walked back to his room. What crawled up his butt and died? Magna asked. His shitty attitude, that's what, but it's fine because despite his tone he did do something that will very much so benefit us. We'll just have to see how far he can get with this new friend of his. Shigaraki sighed. Izuku sat down on his bed as he heard his phone ding. He unlocked his phone only to see a text from his new rosy-cheeked friend. Hey Deku, it's Uraraka. I promised that I'd text you so hi. Don't forget to add my number. Anyways, just as a reminder, we're gonna meet up at the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall. Also, I was thinking about bringing a few friends of mine, is that okay? Deku grinned as he read the text. More people meant more info. He reached over and pulled his journal off of his small desk and sat it next to him. He then took the time to save the girl's contact info onto his phone and labeling her as Rosy Cheeks, before texting back. Izuku, hi Uraraka, thanks for the reminder and sure, how many people are we talking about? Rosy Cheeks, well, I was thinking about inviting my class. That way it'll be more fun, so I guess it depends on who's up for a shopping trip. Izuku started to mentally panic. What if Kaken showed up? That lemonhead can't know that I'm alive yet. He mentally cursed, then sighed as he tried to put his own mind at peace. You know what? It's fine. I'll just have to lay low while I'm there. If I find out that Kaken did decide to show up, then I'll just sneak out. I'll run for my life and tell her that something came up. Besides, why would Kaken even want to go shopping if not by himself? He looked back down at his phone, then texted the girl back. Izuku, okay, sounds good to me. With that, he put his phone on its charger, then grabbed his journal and started to write down everything that he could remember about Uraraka's quirk. He drew a tiny version of her face at the top of the page next to her name just so that he could remember who she was because, in all honesty, he was starting to forget what she looked like already since he really didn't care for the brunette. The only thing that he could remember was her rosy cheeks and large brown eyes. Uraraka laid in her bed with her phone in her hand as she had just received her last text from her new friend, Deku. She couldn't help but find the male attractive. She was actually really looking forward to the shopping trip tomorrow because she'd get to spend more time with him. She sighed, then started a group chapter chat with Class 1. Uraraka, hey guys. So since tomorrow is Saturday, does anyone want to go to the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall? It could be a nice little break from training and whatnot. Kirishima, sure, I'm down. Beaming face with smiling eyes. Momo, I won't be able to make it, I have some business to take care of, I'm sorry. Loudly crying face. Tsuyu, okay. Ashido, oh shopping trip. I can't say no to that. Angry Pomeranian Katsuki, why the hell would I want to go on a shopping trip when I could be doing something way better than hanging out with all of you? Uraraka, well geez alright. I didn't ask for the insults on my holy server on this fine evening. Kirishima, come on bro. It'll be fun. Everyone has to take a break at some point. Besides, it won't be fun without you. Angry Pomeranian Katsuki. No. Angry Pomeranian Katsuki has left the voice chat. Mineta, well, if Bakugo doesn't want to go then I'll go. Iida, yes, I will be going as well. Even though training should be done, I do agree that taking time off would probably benefit us in some shape or form. Raised hand. Todoroki, I'll be going as well. Denki, Dinin. Bakugo isn't going. Oh well, more fun for us then. Zero, sorry guys I won't make it. Kirishima, DMN no Zero, Momo or Bakugo. Type F in the chat guys to pay respect. Mineta, F Aishido, F Denki, F Tsuyu, so where are we meeting up at? Uraraka, we can meet at the entrance. Also, a friend of mine is gonna be there so I think it'll be nice if you guys could meet him. Aishido, oh a boy. Ochako, why didn't you tell me that you were seeing someone? Uraraka, I am not seeing him. I barely know him. Aishido, so you invited him to the mall so that you can get to know him and possibly date him, right? Plus Uraraka, no. That's not it at all. / Aishido, sure whatever. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Uraraka sighed and sat her phone down on the nightstand next to her before turning off her lights and letting sleep take her to the land of dreams. Izuku was leaning against the wall inside of the mall close by the entrance wearing black ripped jeans and a black turtleneck sweater. He was tapping his foot, irritated because Uraraka and her friends were late. I really should have tried to sleep last night, but then again, when do I ever get sleep? Insomnia's a beach. I have dark circles under my eyes just because insomnia's a beach. This is the farthest I've ever been from the base. My nerves are and now these assholes are late. Oh, and let's not forget the possibility of the angry Pomeranian coming, so there's a chance that I'll have to bail. Can this day get any better? He mumbled to himself, and as if on cue his phone dinged, and it was none other than Uraraka herself. Uraraka, hey Deku, I'm at the mall by the entrance. Where are you? Izuku, it's about time 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗍. Izuku quickly backspaced everything he had typed, then scanned the area and saw Uraraka with her friends. He didn't see Katsuki with them, so he put on the best smile he could before approaching the group. Uraraka! He shouted to get her attention. Once she turned towards him, he waved. You are dead. Uraraka smiled happily. Sorry I was so late. I had to wait for everyone. Did you sleep at all? You have bags under your eyes. Are you okay? It's fine and not really sorry. Izuku apologized, making the brunette giggle. You apologize too much. Ishido was grinning from ear to ear. She leaned closer to Tsuyu and whispered, she totally likes him. The girls let out a soft giggle. Kirishima waved to Izuku with a bright, toothy grin, making Izuku smile and wave back. Alright, so these are my friends and classmates. Hi, my name is Ishido. The girl who was basically pink all over said. Is this an alien? Izuku asked himself. Nice to meet you, Ishido. I'm Deku. This is so awesome. You guys must have really awesome quirks if you were able to get into the top hero school, he said with excitement in his tone. Yeah. My quirk is acid. The acid is actually the main reason why my skin is pink. Wow, so the quirk alters your skin color. Izuku kept a smile on his face even though that was a trivial fact that he just learned. Unfortunately though, if I use too much acid my body will corrode. Really? Unfortunate. So can you melt just about anything? Anything solid, and that includes metal. That's amazing. So if I ever had to fight her I would have to make her overuse her quirk, Izuku thought to himself. Did you see the sports festival? Ishido asked. I got to see close to the ending. I saw your fight with that guy. He had some sort of shadow quirk. Oh, you mean Tokoyami? She said happily. Izuku simply nodded, then looked at the rest of the group as he tried to recall names. Kirishima, Iida. Oh, you're Todoroki. I am. Are you a fan of my father? Izuku shook his head. I mean no disrespect to you, but your father reminds me too much of Kaken. Kaken? Oh right, I'm sorry. I have to learn to not use his nickname. I meant to say Bakugo. Your father kind of reminds me of him. Always so egotistical and only really cares about becoming the #1 hero. He almost seems like someone that just wants to become #1 for publicity. And again, I mean no disrespect, but no, it's okay. You described him perfectly. That's the main reason I hate using his fire quirk. His fire quirk. One cannot just simply use someone else's quirk unless you have some sort of quirk that can just steal someone else's quirk. I'm sorry, that just sounds so weird to me. It's not his quirk if you're the one in control of it. It's your quirk, Shoto. Izuku said with a bright smile. You and Bakugo were best friends. Denki asked. How did you even accomplish something like that? Mineta added. Well, I wouldn't say accomplished because obviously we aren't friends anymore. He and I used to hang out and watch All Might together. We were huge fans of him as kids, and he strived to be #1 just so that he could be like All Might but better. Back then I admired Katsuki because of how strong he is, and I just wanted to be there to watch him succeed. What tore you two apart? Ishido asked. I did. It was unintentional and neither did I have any control over it, but I am what tore us apart. By being quirkless, he decided that he wanted nothing to do with me because the only thing that I would accomplish doing is hold him back. For years I tried to support him, but on our last day of being middle schoolers, I gave up. What happened? Todoroki asked. Izuku's story somehow managed to pique his interest. Well, I'd rather not say. Just know that it broke my heart. I haven't seen him in 4 years, and what's so sad about that is he lives in my neighborhood. I feel that I've changed since then though. Breaking myself away from him was probably the best thing I could have ever done for myself. I no longer have anyone to tell me that I can't do something because I'm useless. I feel free, I guess. Anyway, let's get off of that sad topic. We're here to have fun after all. Izuku smiled as he looked towards 3 unfamiliar faces. I don't remember you three being in the finals. He saw a girl with long green hair tied into a bow, a short boy with purple ball on his head and one boy with blonde hair. Oh, this is my friend Iida and Azui, Uraraka said. Just call me Tsu, okay, Izuku replied with a slight shrug to his shoulders. I'm Kaminari, Denki. And this is Mineta. I think it's easy to tell that I'm the smart and cool one of the group, Mineta grinned. Oh, you are. Izuku smiled at him. He can get his lying great ball head but out of my 𝗵𝗵𝗲 face with that bolt. I bet I could kill myself if I climbed up his ego and took a leap of faith down to his actual height. 𝗵𝗵𝗲. I'm tired. Izuku was shaken from his thoughts when Denki had gotten close to his ear. Don't believe a thing that he says, Denki whispered, making Izuku chuckle a bit. I don't so Mineta, what's your quirk? Izuku asked. These sticky ball on my head. They just regrow every time I pull one out of my head and they can stick to anything except me. I'm the only one that can take the ball off too. Alright, well that's kind of overpowered. Wait, you think so? You think I'm powerful? Mineta's eyes shined with hope. Well, I mean, I guess so. Just look at it this way, the ball can stick to anything, people included, and you're the only one that can unstick them. That's pretty overpowered to me. Mineta had a smug look on his face and nodded. You're right. I can probably take down any villain I want. Maybe even that 𝗵𝗲𝗄 guy. Izuku burst into a fit of laughter and tears started to form at the corner of his eyes. I wish I could see that. I mean, that's the leader of the League of Villains. His quirk is to disintegrate anything he touches as long as all 5 of his fingers are touching you. If he could be taken down just by getting stuck to a wall, that would be hilarious. Izuku then turned his attention to Tsuyu. From observation, you have a frog quirk. Tsuyu smiled at Midoriya. You guessed right. I have a long tongue so that I can use it as a WHP or I can use it to grab stuff. I can also camouflage myself. That's amazing. So wait, if your quirk is frog, does this mean that you also hibernate? Izuku asked as he was trying to figure out anything and everything he could about all of them. I do actually. When it gets really cold, I'll fall asleep. Izuku smiled and mentally stored the information for later. And what about you, Iida? You remind me of this one hero, Ingenium. Ah, yes, Tensei is my older brother. I strive to be a great hero just like him. Oh, how admirable of you. Well, I'm sure you'll be a great hero. So, shall we start shopping since we're in a mall, or are we just gonna stand here and talk? Izuku asked. True, maybe we should split into 2 groups of 3. Uraraka asked. 2 groups of 3 would be nice and all, but there's an uneven amount for only 2 group of 3. We have 6 guys and 3 girls. Izuku stated, here's an idea. How about Iida, Kirishima, Denki, and Mineta as a group? Tsu, Todoroki and I as a group, then you and Deku as a group. Ashido suggested. Why, is she trying to play matchmaker or something? If Uraraka likes me, then well, she's gonna have a very bad time. Izuku shrugged when Uraraka looked at him with a blush on her face. Do you mind if it's just us? She asked. I don't mind. I mean, you are the one that invited me out here, so it's okay. Welp, we'll see you guys later then. She waved to her friends, then grabbed Izuku's wrist and dragged him off. Izuku just let himself be dragged. The only thing that could come to mind was ways to dispose of his new friend and what to do after that. They had spent almost 2 hours together. Nothing caught Izuku's eyes, so he just watched the brunette and looked at whatever she wanted to show him occasionally. Eventually, they had decided to grab some food and sit down on a bench. I knew Ashido was gonna do this, Uraraka said, breaking Izuku away from his thoughts. Do what? I knew that she was gonna put us together. Izuku tilted his head to the side. Is it bad to be paired up with me? Oh wait, I'm quirkless, it's always bad. In case there were to be some kind of danger, I wouldn't be able to do anything. Not like I'd attempt. Izuku sighed lightly and shook his head. I don't mind. Really? Well, yeah. You're the first person to ever really want to hang out with me, so I'm really thankful. Uraraka smiled happily and nodded. Maybe we can do this more often then, she said. I'd like that. Izuku and Uraraka spent 2 hours wandering around the mall, and the only thing that was bought was a small keychain that Uraraka found cute. Izuku wanted to go home by this point, but he still had information that he needed to gather for Shigaraki. They both sat down together on a bench near a fountain that was in the center of the mall. "Hey, Uraraka. What's it like going to school with All Might as a teacher?" Izuku asked. "Well, All Might is really cool. I mean, he's more of someone that fights us during exams, but between you and me, I think I may have heard something that I wasn't supposed to. I'm afraid to tell anyone at school because, well, I don't want anyone to worry, and I don't want the information falling into wrong hands. Is that bad?" "Depends on what you found out. You can tell me though. I'm a huge fan of All Might and I wouldn't want anything bad to happen, so your secret is safe with me." This piqued Izuku's interest. What could Uraraka possibly know that could make everyone worry? "Well, I wanted to ask Midnight something, but I overheard the teachers, including All Might, talk about how he can only use his quirk for 5 minutes. Now, All Might said that if he keeps overusing his quirk, then soon he won't be able to use it at all." Izuku internally grinned. This information was sure to help the League in some way. This made him happy because this meant that he could move forward with his plan. "I understand. Maybe it is best to keep that kind of information secret. I mean, if anyone found that out, you could probably get into trouble, like with villains, haha, or maybe the teachers, because, well, you know, they wouldn't want just anyone to know that sort of information. I mean, news spreads fast." Uraraka sighed. "You're totally right." Izuku looked away from her in time to see Ishido and Tsuyu waving to them. They stood next to the group of boys that they had originally shown up with. "I think your friends are calling us over," Izuku stated. "Well, it will be getting dark soon and we've been here for over 4 hours, so I guess everyone is ready to start heading home." Izuku was almost relieved at the thought of leaving. He got the information on All Might that he needed. He stood up and walked towards them with Uraraka following close behind. "Hi." Izuku smiled at the group. "Hey, it's about time we start heading back home. Did you two have fun?" Ishido said. "Totally. I hope we can do this again sometime. I had a lot of fun." Izuku said. "I hope we can. I needed a break." Kirishima added. "I never started my homework," Denki stated. "I don't think I could have fun if I knew that I had homework to come back to," Izuku said as he shook his head at Denki. "Procrastination at its finest, my friend." Izuku sighed and started to question what Denki's grades looked like. "Oh, let me get your number. That way we can chat." Kirishima said, Sure." Kirishima handed Izuku his phone. Izuku put his number in the device, but it was to his old phone. He had two, one for these sorts of situations and another for work. "Thanks, bro. I'll give you guys his number if you want it, if that's okay with you, Deku." Kirishima asked. "Yeah, sure. Just make sure you put your name so that I know who I'm talking to." "Understood." Kirishima gave Izuku a wide smile. "Welp, I'll see you around, Deku. It was nice to meet ya." "Likewise." Izuku looked back at Uraraka. "I'll be going now." Izuku smiled at her and waved to everyone before walking away from the group. "Oh, I'll follow you out." The brunette smiled as she followed him. Izuku grinned, knowing that she would follow him. As soon as they made it outside, she stood in front of him. "Well, my home is this way, so I guess I should be going now," she said with a light blush on her face. Hee, that's funny because my house is actually in the same direction, so I guess we'll be sticking with each other for a bit longer," Izuku said with a bright smile on his face. "Oh, cool. Well, it'll be safer that way anyways. Since it's getting dark, it would probably be dangerous for you or me to walk home alone." "Oh, how lovely, she just assumes that I'm gonna get wrecked," he thought to himself. "Yeah, I would hate for anything to happen to either of us," he said as he followed behind her. As they walked together, they soon fell into a comfortable silence. The sight of people were becoming scarce and the sky was turning dark. The darker it became, the more it seemed as if Izuku's eyes were glowing with sinister intent. He pulled a small case out of his pocket and quietly opened it. In it was a syringe already prepared for immediate use. "Oh man, it really is getting dark, huh?" Uraraka said, not turning to look at him, which was a critical mistake. Izuku pushed the syringe into her upper arm, making sure to hit a vein. Uraraka gasped in shock and pain, but she soon started to wobble as she tried to walk forward. "Deku." She looked behind her and the only thing she could see were two bright green eyes and a wide grin as she lost consciousness and hit the cold, hard concrete. Uraraka had awakened to find herself in a dark room, sitting in a chair. She looked around trying to get adjusted to the dark, and once she did, she noticed a dark figure leaning against a wall with bright green eyes staring at her, observing her. They were in the same room that Shigaraki used to inject Izuku with the drag that helped him with training. "Who are you? Where am I?" The figure stayed quiet for a moment before grinning. "It's about time. I'm glad to see that you're alive." Uraraka sighed in relief when she recognized the voice. "Deku, what's going on? Where are we?" She tried to move only to find out that she was tied down. "Why am I tied up?" "Oh, I'm sorry. Is the rope too tight?" Izuku asked as he walked behind her. He grabbed the ends of the rope and grinned. "Let's just make them tighter then," he said as he pulled the rope to tighten it around her wrists. Uraraka hissed in pain and fear slowly started to build within her. What are you doing?" "What?" she questioned him. "You have a lot of questions. Are you not aware of the situation that you're in?" "I will answer a few questions though, but only if you'll answer mine." Uraraka fell silent. "Good girl now, you are in my home and dash." Izuku paused as he noticed Uraraka frantically looking around the room. "What are you looking around for? Are you perhaps looking for this?" Izuku held up her phone with a grin on his face. "I may be quirkless, but I'm not stupid, my dear. I am aware that you can send your little friends your location. Which is why I took out the location chip anyways. My question to you is what pushed you to non-ono. Let me reword that. Why do you want to be a hero?" "Why? Well, I want to help my parents. I want to make a lot of money so that my parents can live peaceful lives." "How shallow of you." "What?" Izuku chuckled at her reaction. "So a person who's just in it for the money is more worthy than someone who only wanted to protect the innocent. This world is crazy, but it's fine because I will be the one to fix it. But anyways, let me tell you what I want to do and why, since you're gonna die anyway. Like everyone else in the league, I want to get rid of All Might. He has too much of an influence on this world and it's annoying as this die." Izuku grabbed his pocket knife and slashed her across the face, making her scream from the sudden action. "Don't interrupt me while I'm talking. Shut the F up and listen. I hate it when people interrupt. I've been nothing but nice to you this whole time. I've let you talk my ear off while we were at the mall and I never interrupted you once. I could have killed you by now." Izuku hissed out at her. "Deku, you still have time. Stop calling me Deku. That's not my name. Please, you can turn your life around. If not, then the heroes will come to stop you." This made Izuku laugh as he stood up and walked over to a nearby table and looked at a branding iron that had been left alone to heat. "Oh really? Stop me how? Do you think that they know where you are? Do you really think that anyone is going to come for you? They won't. Nobody will come for you, and you know why. Because nobody cares. They will toss you away like garbage, just like they did me. Spite. Huh. My name, 𝗬𝗲𝗍. What can I do to get through to you? You don't have to be this way. You can't. You're so sweet. You don't have to be with these people. Please, tell me what I can do." Izuku chuckled and walked closer to her, bending down to her so that they were at eye level with one another. He gave direct eye contact with a wide grin. "Absolutely nothing, Rosie. Now my question to you is, why are you telling me what I can and can't be? It's like you said, Uraraka." He leaned in close and whispered in her ear. "Can who you want to be," he said slowly, pausing at every word that came out of his mouth. He backed away from her as he let out a soft yet deep chuckle. "No spite. Are they making you do this? Please, we can get out of here together. We can keep hanging out as we have been. You can have friends. Why, you can even have a girlfriend." "Girlfriend? Where the hell would I get one of those? I like you. I love you." Izuku paused for a moment to process what he had been told. "You're just saying that so that I'll let you go. You think telling me that you have feelings for me is gonna change my mind on anything?" "No. I'm not lying to you. I had gotten feelings for you the day we met. You were so cute and sweet and dash." Izuku picked up the branding iron and held it against her face, making her scream in agony. Once he took the branding iron off her face, she was in tears and was left on her cheek. "Still think I'm cute and innocent? Do you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that all you do is talk and talk and talk now. Do you know what a facade is? The brunette nodded with a fearful look in her eyes. Good, because that's what that was. You know, the nice guy personality that you saw at the mall. I don't like you or love you. Izuku grabbed her by the chin and forced her to look up at him. Izuku had a malicious grin on his face. But don't feel bad, Rosie, I'm not turning you down because you're ugly. No, you're far from ugly. Matter of fact, you're very cute. You seem to have this very innocent vibe to you too, and believe me, it does attract me. Tien, why? The brunette asked as tears started to stream down her face. Uraraka was heartbroken and afraid. She had been betrayed in the worst way possible. She fell in love with his sweet facade only to find out that the man of her dreams is a monster whose personality is the exact opposite of who she thought he was. But simple, it's because he got closer to her face as he gently caressed her cheek and whispered, I hate the fact that you've been corrupted by this society. You're so corrupt by this society's views that I could never ever possibly love you. Matter of fact, I hate you. Uraraka's eyes widened. She couldn't understand why she was hated. But let me not get sidetracked from what I wanted to do. He walked back over to the table and placed the branding iron back over the flame. He opened up a box and pulled out a syringe that was connected to a BLD bag. Now, you're just going to be a bit charitable today because I'm taking 2 pints of BLD from you for later use. He walks over to the door and opens it a bit, then shouts for Toga. Toga comes running down the hallway and hugs Izuku. I have been summoned. What can I do for you? Toga asked. I need your help, hun. I have a snack for you, but I need help getting said snack. Toga tilted her head to a bit and looked at Uraraka. She's so pretty. Like I want to be her. You can be her if you help me. Izuku rests his hands on both of Toga's shoulders and leaned close to her ear. I want to get 2 pints of BLD from her so that I can give them to you for later, but I need you to help me change her restraints. Toga gave a wide smile as she stared at Uraraka. So either stab her wrists or break her arms. Got it. But wait, what do you need the BLD bag for? It'll be extra for you. Aw, you're sweet. But I'll only be at the school for a day hopefully, so my machine should be able to store enough. She said as she walked towards Uraraka. Okay, good, that means I don't have to set this SHT up then. Izuku smiled in relief. No, stay away from me. Uraraka shouted at Toga, making her stop directly in front of her. You're so pretty, your cheeks are a little crispy, but that's okay. Kurogyari soon entered the room, making Izuku smile. He was fond of the black fog. Kurogyari, what can I do for you? Izuku asked. All for one would like to see you. Uraraka froze at the name. Oh really? Well, Uraraka cut Izuku off mid-sentence. He's the one that's making you do all of this. Deku, please, Shigaraki is only trying to use you for his own personal gain. He doesn't care about you. I do. Uraraka shouted as tears streamed down her face, a few of her tears dripping onto the floor. Izuku sighed as he started to get irritated. Do you know what the phrase, shut up, means? Never mind. You obviously don't, because after telling you not to interrupt me and to keep your mouth shut, you still talk. I think it's about time to explain to you what the hell it means to shut up. Means to take your constantly moving pee-pee pocket that you call lips and to keep them shut, meaning closed, non-moving. Do you understand, or do I need to explain it again? Izuku glared at her, being completely irritated by just the sound of her voice. Uraraka looked down sadly and shook her head, symbolizing that she understood. Good, next time you talk I'm cutting out your tongue, he said as he left the room with Kurogyari. Do whatever you need to do, Toga. Will do. Kurogyari looked down at Izuku as they walked down the hallway. What did you manage to find out from the girl? The Black Fog asked. Apparently All Might is getting weaker the longer he uses his quirk. I'm not sure what to expect, but what I can guess is if we can make All Might use his quirk for a long period of time, we can weaken him and soon he won't be able to protect himself against us. You've done well. I'm sure Shigaraki will be pleased with this information. Izuku nodded as they made it out to the bar area. Izuku stood in front of the deformed face man. All for one motioned for Shigaraki and Kurogyari to leave them alone so that they could talk one-on-one. So, you're the one that they call Izuku Midoriya? Yes. Yes, sir, Izuku replied. What drives you to be this way? I heard that your goals are quite different from the others. Tell me about yourself. 𝗓𝗏 rested his chin on his fist waiting for the boy to speak. My goals are different from the others, yes. My whole life I've been picked on because I'm quirkless. I used to dream of becoming a hero because All Might said anyone can become a hero. I didn't realize that he wasn't talking about the 20% of us that were quirkless. Everyone in this society has been corrupted by his ideals, but despite that my childhood best friend is the one that I hate the most. He dreamed of being a hero just like All Might, yet he would bully me every day. After the bullying started, everyone got in on it, and that included the teachers. The teachers never helped me. Everyone looked down on me like I didn't matter. Izuku took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Anyway, I want to make my old friend suffer as he made me. I don't know how to do that just yet, but until then I've agreed to help with taking down All Might. If All Might dies, then Kaken's idol will be gone. But that's not all. Oh. Izuku nods with a small grin on his face. I think it would be really great if I could take revenge on those who have quirks. There are people that look down on me and the other quirkless people out there. It would be a real shame if their quirks were to just disappear, and who knows, maybe it could end up with someone who actually deserves it. I don't know, maybe I could come up with some sort of machine that could take away quirks. I'm not sure if that's even possible, but hey, you never know, right? Maybe I can finally restore order to this world. You know, I don't have any powers, but if I can create something that could potentially help the world progress into a new era, well, basically what I'm saying is the world can 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗫 it. 𝗓𝗏 let out a joyous laugh that echoed in the room. It seems that you and I do have something in common. The scar-faced man said. We do. Izuku had no idea what this man's intentions are. He was glad that he could entertain the man with his ideal, though. Yes, you remind me of myself back before I received my injury, the man said as he pointed to his face. Let me tell you a story, my child. I used to help people with my quirk. I used to have so much power and such a high status. I felt like I was an emperor, a king, but then All Might took all of that away from me. Without power, one cannot assert his ideal. My quirk is the same as my name. All for 1 foot. I can take a person's quirk and keep it for myself, and yes, I can pass them on to others. My power is also what helped to create the quirk 1 for all. Izuku stared at All for 1 in amazement. All of his goals were standing right in front of him. Wait, you created 1 for all? Yes, now Tomura is my protege. He will be the one to carry out my legacy. When that day comes, I believe that All Might will finally be cut out of our lives, that is, unless something were to happen to him. Izuku looked down at the ground. His eyes were cold, filled with indignance and anger. Everything that he aspires for is right in front of him, but his opportunity is being given away to someone that he feels is a complete imbecile and not even worthy to have such an amazing quirk. If he were the leader, All Might would have been long gone. Unlike Shigaraki, he knew how to form a plan while considering any loopholes and considering any possible obstacle. He just couldn't understand why would someone like Shigaraki, who has failed multiple times, be the one to carry All for 1's legacy. No, 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 and no. We have the same ideals. I should get the quirk. He's failed so many times and I can even pinpoint where he f up. Why would you trust such a powerful quirk to an idiot? I can become what you were before I can even find a way to get rid of all possible obstacles. Why? Suddenly, an idea dawned on him. Sir. Speak, boy. Do you have a backup plan if something were to go wrong? I mean, what if something happens to Tomura? What if All Might actually manage to take him down? Well, as of now, I do have a backup plan. Izuku looked up at All for 1 with curiosity. My backup is you. Izuku's eyes widened in shock. He knew that he'd be a perfect candidate, but he didn't actually think that All for 1 would agree. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 me? Izuku asked. We do have similar ideas, and you're quirkless, which would make the process easier, and I do realize that Tomura is more on the immature side, but he was here first. He's more experienced as a villain, which is why I'm still giving it to him, but say that anything happens to him, you would be the next best person to receive my quirk. So that's how we're doing this. Tomura was here first, so he gets the quirk. That just means that I'll have to physically remove him from the picture. He thought to himself. I respect your decision and I would be honored to receive your quirk if given the opportunity. Izuku put a hand over his chest and bowed politely. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss with me, sir? Yes, actually, what is your next move? 𝗓𝗏 asked. My next move is to infiltrate you. Dash. We've already done that and failed. The scared-faced man cut him off. Why the hell is everyone cutting me off today? Izuku thought to himself. I realize this, sir, but that was before we had Toga. From what I've heard, on the first attempt, Shigaraki had gone in blind. His main focus was All Might, but he did not take the students or other teachers into consideration. I don't plan on fighting the heroes when we have absolutely no information on them, which is why I have one of the students locked upstairs. You actually managed to bring one of them here by yourself. It was very easy, sir. It took 2 days, but neither did I put the heroes on high alert. This means nobody will come for her since no one knows that she's missing. I've texted her parents using her phone saying that she was staying at a friend's house for the night, and I took the locator chip out of her phone so that she won't be found. I plan on having Toga take some of the girls' BLD so that she can get into you and find the room that they keep all of the records of the students and teachers, which will include updated information of their quirks, family members, etc. 𝗓𝗏 clapped his hands, amazed at the child. You, my boy, are going to accomplish great things. Although, I must ask why the information about family members. I'm very willing to hold someone hostage if it gets me a step closer to getting what I want. 𝗓𝗏 chuckled at this. I see. Well, I'll let you get back to it then, Midoriya. I expect great things from you. I will not let you down, sir. Izuku smiled and bowed one last time before taking his leave. Once he got back to the bar area, he smiled at Kurojiiri, who was cleaning wine glasses. How did everything go? The Black Fog asked. I think he likes me. Izuku decided that he wouldn't give details as to what 𝗓𝗏 told him, especially if he wants to remove Shigaraki from existence. If anyone knew, then all fingers would be pointed at him, and he doesn't want to deal with drama. They would know how manipulative and smart that he could be, but there was still the thought of everyone trying to put him in his place and fighting for a position that should rightfully be his. He made his way back to the room that he left Ochako in and opened the door. Toga was leaning against a wall, watching over the brunette who was now unconscious. You got her BLD? Yup. I'm all set for tomorrow. What are you gonna do with her, though? Toga asked out of pure curiosity. Kill her and throw her body somewhere. I don't know yet. By you going to the school tomorrow posing as her, it will throw all suspicions off of me. Also, can you do me one more favor? Mention my name in school tomorrow, but don't call me by Izuku. Call me Deku. That was the name I told everyone to call me. Also, the boy that won the sports festival is also in that class. The one that gave me that name. I want him to know that I'm back. Who knows, he might not care, or it might even brush his curiosity a bit. I don't care really, but please make sure he knows, but don't approach him. Only talk to him if he approaches you. If he asks you any questions, don't go into full detail about me. Act as if we've only just met. Got it? Gotcha. Izuku grins, then he turned his attention back to Ochako. Guess I'll just hang her. I'll make it look like a suicide or something. Oh wait, I can't. He went back over to the small table that was sitting in the corner of the room and grabbed a long rope. He walked back over to the unconscious girl and knotted the rope around her neck, creating a noose. He threw the other end of the rope around one of the wooden beams on the ceiling that had a bit of space between it and the actual ceiling itself. Toga unties Ochako from the chair, still leaving her wrists tied together. Izuku starts to pull on the rope, raising Ochako off of the ground. The rope tightened around her throat. Ochako woke up out of her sleep and started to kick her feet as she noticed that there wasn't anything underneath her. She wanted to grab at the noose to try and take it off, but then she realized that her wrist is still tied to each other. Tears started to stream down her face as she looked at Izuku. Izuku simply waved to her as he said his final goodbyes. Goodbye, Uraraka. If only we had met under different circumstances, he said with a small grin on his face. Everything started to go black, and soon Uraraka accepted that she was going to die. She mentally said her apologies and goodbyes to her friends and family before falling unconscious. Izuku watched her limp body hanging in the air, then let out a crazed laugh. That was hilariously fun. He let go of his end of the rope and watched the brunette fall to the floor face down. What are you gonna do with her, 𝗧𝗬𝗧? Toga asked. 𝗧𝗬𝗧. That's a new one. Well, if you liked being called Deku then, I would have called you Deki. Don't call me either of those names. I only used that name because I didn't want the students knowing my true identity yet. Outside of that, I refuse to be affiliated with that name. Understandable. So, are you gonna dump her body somewhere? You said you were gonna make it look like a suicide, right? Toga asked with a tilt of her head. I've changed my mind. I'm gonna throw her body away in a dumpster somewhere, but first I want her head. The next day, Izuku stared at the head of his old brunette friend in a small tank filled with water sitting on his shelf as he lay on his bed with his arms folded behind his head. He thought about the now-deceased brunette. She wanted to be friends with him and she even loved him, but he knew that it was all a lie. She fell in love with the facade that he put on. His true self was unlovable because he knew that to anyone else, he would be seen as a monster. Did he really care though? No, he had more important things to worry about. There was no point in dwelling on it because she's dead now and there is nothing that he can do about it. Everything is all right. This is for the better. Everything is going according to plan. I just need Toga to make it back safely. Toga sat down at Uraraka's desk completely disguised as the brunette herself. She noticed a spiky-haired blonde sitting at his desk with his feet on his desk with another male student who had red hair trying to start up a conversation with him. Uraraka. Shido ran over to her and put her arm around her shoulder. So how did things go with Deku? The pink girl asked. Yeah. What did you and Deku do yesterday while you walked home? Tsuyu asked as she walked closer to them. Deku and we just talked a little. After a certain point, we separated, but other than that we were pretty quiet. Shido sighed in disappointment. You should have asked him out. I haven't known him long enough. Toga lied through her teeth. She could see that Bakugo was getting visibly upset. Hey, Uraraka. Thanks for inviting us out to the mall. I really needed a day to just have fun, you know? Denki said as he walked over to the disguised brunette. I never thought I'd get to meet a quirkless dude thou dash. Suddenly Bakugo abruptly stood from his chair and stormed towards his 4 classmates. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏. Where did you hear that name? Dude, what's wrong? Denki asked. Answer the DMN question, dunce face. You mean Deku? We met him yesterday at the mall. Tsuyu answered as she placed a finger on her chin, curious as to what piqued his interest. Bakugo seemed to actually be angry, more on edge than usual. What did he look like? The explosive boy asked. He had green hair, taller than me. He was around our age. He looked to be 17 or 18 years old. Oh, it looked like he dyed the tips of his hair red. It looked really good on him. He was also really sweet. Maybe a little shy. Shido explained. The red-eyed boy looked to be in shock. Katsuki couldn't come to terms that his Deku was possibly still alive. He had been missing before they could even graduate from junior high, and now he's been told that Izuku Midoriya has been alive and well this whole time while he's been sitting here at you. Filled with regret because he thought that the nerd had gone off and killed himself because he told the boy to do so. He was beyond pissed. How dare he just go off to the mall with some friends while his mother was still at home crying over old photo albums, crying herself to sleep. How dare he have fun while everyone he left behind was still suffering. What's got you so worked up, man? Denki asked. Oh wait, Deku told me that you two used to be childhood best friends, right? Toga asked just to rile him up even more. Where is he? The blonde asked. I heard that you two didn't have the best relationship. Tsuyu asked. Bakugo looked troubled then just growled in frustration. I'm only saying this once so you better listen. Deku was a nickname I gave him. His real name is Izuku Midoriya and he's been missing for more than 4 years. Wait, what? The 4 stared at Bakugo in shock. What do you mean missing? He told us that he gave up on trying to be your friend and just separated himself from you. No, he went missing. On the last day of junior high, he never made it home. There was a search party and everything and yet nobody could find him. How the hell did you idiots manage to find him when the cops couldn't even find him? Well, Uraraka had met him first, bro, Kirishima spoke up. He approached me the other day and told me that he thought my quirk was really interesting. Toga lied through her teeth, not knowing that she was actually spot on. Sounds like that dumbass, Katsuki said. Wait, shouldn't we call someone? Authorities should know that he's okay. Better yet, maybe we should try calling him. I'm sure he could explain if we asked. Iida suggested. So, stupid, you guys have no idea where he could possibly be right now, and who even knows if he'll pick up the phone if he's survived this long. Do you really think he would even want to be found? Katsuki said, well, he gave us his number, so I would think so. Denki said, besides bro, we won't even know unless we try, Kirishima added. F it, if you want to call him then go ahead. See if I care. Alright, students, get into your seats, Aizawa said as he walked into the classroom. Everyone sat down in their seats but held a grim look on their faces. Aizawa noticed the looks on his students' faces but decided not to ask because he had a lesson to get through. After the lesson, everyone got back together to talk about Deku. Uraraka had left the room claiming that she needed to use the bathroom. Okay, let's try to call him. Kaminari shouted as he pulled out his phone. Izuku sat in the bar area trying to think of a way to get Shigaraki alone as he sat there with a glass of water in his hand. He heard his phone start to ring in his pocket, but he chose to ignore it. Are you not going to answer it? Kurogiri asked. Yeah, it's probably one of your new friends, Dabi stated. Friends, if Toga is still at the school, then my name probably got out as I planned, and now that former rosy-cheeked Beach's friends are trying to call me to get info about me. Long story short, I'm not answering it. If they want to talk to me, then they'll have to find me on their own time. Izuku pulled out his second phone and texted Toga, were you able to find anything? Toga had left a file room with her book bag, filled with the files for all of the 1A students and teachers. She heard her phone ring and got excited when she saw that it was Izuku himself who had texted her. She texted back, I found the files on Bakugo's classmates and he now knows of your existence just like you wanted. Izuku read the text and smiled. Wonderful. Unfortunately, though you'll have to stay for the rest of the day, don't want anyone coming after you. Understood, Zuzu. See you after school then. Toga sent her last text before stuffing it in her book bag and heading back into the classroom where some of the students were still trying to call Izuku but failing to get through to him. I think you should answer the phone, Izuku, just to see what will happen. Twice had said, making Izuku sigh. Fine, whatever, he replied as he pulled his phone out of his pocket and answered, hello. Deku. Finally you picked up. We've all been trying to call you. Kirishima said. Kirishima's voice sounded as if he were far away from his phone, so he could only guess that he was on speaker, which meant that he would have to be careful with what he said. Oh, I'm so sorry, my phone was on silent. I just so happened to finally look at it and notice that you were calling me. So what's up? Can you tell me more about yours and Bakugo's relationship? I know you didn't want to talk about it too much before, but I got really curious. Sure, what did you want to know? Well, what made you give up on being friends with him? That's a long story. I mean, it's really nothing to worry about. I'm in a better place now. A better place? Well, a better state of mind. After what had happened, I just didn't want to live anymore really, so I just ran away from it all, I guess. I'm ready to face my problems now, so I came back sort of. You ran away from home. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I was surrounded by nothing but negativity. If I hadn't, I wouldn't be talking to you now. I would have died 4 years ago. Now can I ask you something, Kiri? Is it okay if I call you that? Sure. What's up? Is everyone listening? Everyone froze in their spots when Izuku acknowledged all of them. Since you're still in school, I can only guess that Kaken is or isn't listening to me. I guess that might also be why you have me on speaker. So that he could listen, correct? How did you know it was on speaker? You just told me. Wadash, I assumed I was on speaker because you sound so far away, but you just confirmed it. Anyway, I'd guess I'd understand if he is listening, but at the same time I won't get my hopes up. After finding out that I was quirkless, he stopped caring anyways. Actually, he never cared. You know that's a lie, Deku. I did care. Why did you run away? What about your mom, you coward? She gave up on me. She did not. She still sits on that ugly but blue couch of hers waiting for you to come home. Well, it's your fault, Katsuki. Katsuki's eyes widened when he heard Izuku say his actual name instead of the nickname that the green-haired boy had given him. What's my fault? Everything. Izuku hung up the call and placed his hand back into his pocket, then smiled. Everyone looked at the blonde with curious looks on their faces. Dude, what did you do? Denki asked. I didn't do SHT. I don't know what kind of SHT he's puking out of his mouth. He's just a coward and cowards aren't worth my DMN time. Katsuki said as stomped off. By the end of the day, Toga made her way back to the other side of town, avoiding conversation with her other classmates. Izuku had stayed at the base for the entire day awaiting her return. Shigaraki was elsewhere out in town. Hey you guys. Everyone in the room turned their attention to him. What can we do for you, Midoriya? Kurohige asked. How would you feel if I became the new leader of the league? Izuku asked with his gaze to the floor. You as our leader? I mean, I wouldn't be against it. You're one smart guy and you can be a scary dude when you want to be, and you're not really a whiny brat like Tamura is, Twice explained. Would you be willing to follow someone like me if I took over? Everyone glanced at each other before looking back at Izuku. Well, you haven't steered us wrong as of yet, but aren't your goals different than ours? Mr. 𝗵𝗃 asked. Yes and no, I don't just simply have one goal. I want to make one person suffer the absolute most, but I also want to destroy and conquer. I want to destroy all might for filling people's heads with lies, including mine. I want to destroy those who are pro-heroes but don't even deserve to call themselves that, and most importantly, I want to restore this world back to what it originally was when All for One was still in power. I want the power that he used to have. I would hate to see All for One's power fall into the hands of such a crusty but brat. He'd misuse the F out of that quirk. By all means, if one of you guys were to fail, well, he'd probably take your quirks and push you out onto the cold streets and just say, "Get out of my sight." Or something along those lines. I'd hate to see any of you end up like me simply because Shigaraki has a bad temper, don't you agree? A man with a gas mask on his face that associated himself with the name Mustard walked over to Izuku and stood behind him. I'm with you. I'd hate for some dumb SHT like that to happen. Mustard said. So am I. Twice and Mr. 𝗵𝗃 said in unison. Soon everyone started to crowd around him, sharing with him how they agreed and would love for him to lead them. How do we know that you won't do the same to us? 𝗬𝗲 asked. 𝗬𝗲, do you not trust me? I haven't steered you wrong, besides I need all of you. Without you all, I'm nothing, Izuku said with a sad smile on his face. Let's be completely honest, guys, Izuku actually comes up with some really good ideas, but Shigaraki's pride is in the way and he wants to come up with his own ideas which usually have loopholes, Magna stated. Don't you worry about that, soon that will all come to an end, that is if you agree to help me get rid of him. By all means, I just planned to wait until he took a bath so that I could drop a radio or a microwave in his bathwater with him in it. What if we just have him imprisoned? Twice suggested. You idiot, if we put him in jail then he could rat us out, then we would have to change locations. 𝗬𝗲 stated. Yup, going with the microwave in the bathtub, if it, Izuku thought to himself. He heard the door open and saw Toga walk in, no longer in disguise. I got what you asked for, spite, she said as she sat her bag down on the table. Izuku smiled with excitement in his eyes. He opened the bag and pulled out all of the files and looked through them. Perfect. Thank you so much, Toga. Hey Toga, how would you feel if we followed Izuku instead of Shigaraki? Twice asked. Toga gasped with a wide smile on her face, then she hugged Izuku tightly. Our dear Zuzu as our new leader. I love the idea. I mean, who wouldn't want such a cute and tasty leader? Toga said with a bright smile. Tasty. What the F? Then it's settled. I'll be the one to lead you all. We'll finally destroy All Might and we'll restore this world to its former glory. Izuku said. Everyone raised their fists, punching the air in excitement for change to finally occur. No more failure. Finally things were going to get done. Izuku never thought that he'd get the entire league to support his views, but now that he did, he knew that he would be unstoppable. Plus, now for our next plan of action, we must get rid of Shigaraki. Izuku was out wandering the city in the early morning watching the people around him. Students were walking to school, adults were heading to work, a few elderly were out with their grandchildren taking a stroll. Izuku could only remember the good times that he once had with his mother. If he didn't say that he missed those times, he would be lying to himself. He had wished that things would have turned out differently, but unfortunately, the world was too cruel. As Izuku walked, he tried to think of a way to get rid of 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗵𝗲. It was pretty messed up to try and kill the one who gave you a second chance at life, but then again 𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗵𝗲 brought this upon himself. He left Ochako's body to Kurogiri to handle. He thought that it would be fun if Ochako just appeared to have gone missing, just like he had. His thoughts were soon interrupted. When he ran into someone, "Oh God, I'm so sorry," Izuku said, immediately putting on his innocent act. "No, it's my fault." Izuku looked up to see a man who looked to be his age with half red and half white hair and a scar over his left eye, wearing casual clothing. "Oh, it's just you, Todoroki. It's nice to see you again." "It's nice to see you as well." Izuku gave his best smile, but Todoroki couldn't help but notice that something was off about the boy. His eyes just didn't seem to meet his smile. They looked dark and cold. "Just like my soul. Ah, this is awkward. You were probably listening in on the phone call between Kaken and I, huh?" Izuku asked. "I was. Can you explain a bit about that? I won't tell Bakugo that we spoke to each other either." "Thanks, and sure. Well, what do you want to know, Shoto? I know you said at the mall that you were the reason that you two stopped being friends, but what did you mean by that? What exactly happened that made you give up? Why did you run away?" Izuku could only let out a soft giggle at the taller boy. "So many questions, but I'll try to answer them properly. For your first question, it's as I said. We just weren't compatible, and I learned that the hard way." "How?" Todoroki asked. "He bullied me, of course. Blew up my stuff, beat me, turned the class on me, the class turned the school on me, etc. He did all of that to you." "Yeah." "So, one day I had enough and I tried to take my own life. Obviously I failed, so I ran off, made new friends, and now I'm surviving out here on my own. But anyway, this is completely off topic, but I recalled the conversation that we had the other day about your father, and I thought to myself, do you know what would be really funny yet kind of messed up? If you ended up rebelling just to beat your dad at his own game, that would be hilarious. Messed up but hilarious." Todoroki looked at the green-eyed boy. His comment was strange, but it holds some truth in. Shoto stared at the boy and observed him. "I am rebelling in my own sort of way. I refuse to use his dash." Todoroki paused as he remembered what Izuku had told him at the mall the other day. "I mean my fire quirk. I want to become a great hero while only using ice. That's not gonna be enough. He'll just think that you're being a stubborn teenager. If you really want to get back at him, then you would have to use that fire quirk for different purposes." I guess you have a point." The conversation that he listened in on between Bakugo and a few of his classmates replayed in his mind. Todoroki shook his head and he gently grabbed Izuku's wrist, making the boy look at him. "Come with me." Where are we going?" Izuku asked as he was pulled along. "Don't you think it would be nice to at least let Bakugo or even your mother know that you're okay? You at least still have a mom, and from what Bakugo said, she still loves you. My mother hates me, so you shouldn't burn bridges with her." "No." Izuku stood his ground and gripped onto Todoroki's wrist tightly, making Shoto stop in his tracks. "I'm not going. I absolutely refuse." "Why not?" "I just can't, okay? I'm not ready to face him just yet. If I see him again, he'll probably try to get me to go home. Nobody wants me there. What's the point? Bakugo told me to kill myself. Everyone beat me up for having a silly dream. Even my own mother gave up on me. I didn't burn bridges with her. She burned them with me. She's the only reason why we're disconnected, not me. She gave up on me. Why would I want to put myself back in such a toxic situation? Out here I'm happy. I have friends. Shoto, if you'd like to tell her that I'm alive, then so be it. But I'm not coming back." Izuku had fallen silent for a moment. Todoroki had stood there a bit stunned. "Here's a question for you, Shoto. I wanna 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗔 this around a bit. It's my turn to interrogate you now. Why would you want to be the very thing that your father wants you to be? It doesn't matter if you're better than him. You're still doing what he wants, and it's stupid," Izuku said as he glared at the scar-faced male. Shoto couldn't help but stare in shock. He knew that the boy was right. The only thing that he was doing was exactly what his father wanted him to do. He didn't want to accomplish his father's dreams, and neither did he want to be looked at as his father. Deku, at this rate, you're gonna be just like your father and Bakugo. It doesn't matter how much better you are. Your father just wants you to be number one for popularity, fame, and fortune. Heroes are heartless. They don't care for anyone but themselves. They just want money. If that's what you want, then so be it. You're the same as him. You're the same as all of those corrupted heroes out there. You don't care about anyone like I did. All you care about is getting one up on Endeavor, and it's disgusting to think that one day a hero that doesn't give two shits about me might be the one protecting me when he's not even concerned about my general well-being, but his own reputation and popularity. Shoto let go of his wrist and looked down at the ground as the boy's words swirled around in his head. You sound like you hate heroes, Iida. I hate them so much. It's because of them that I'm seen as a minority that can't do anything for himself, all because I'm quirkless and I get nothing but SHT for it, and you're just like the rest of them. From the moment I told you that I'm quirkless, everyone stared at me with such sad. You all judge me. You all see me as someone weak, and I absolutely despise that. When I told Kaken that I was quirkless, I wasn't even worth his time anymore. He just saw me as a parasite. So no matter what I do, I'll always be following in his footsteps. I'm just like him, Shoto thought out loud. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, Izuku said as he stuffed his hands into his pocket. What do I do? Why are you asking me? Maybe you could join me. Instead of being a hero, you can be something else. Izuku suggested. Like a villain. If you said it, not me. You can do whatever you feel like doing. Unlike me, you have a quirk and can be anything you want to be. I have a home. Unfortunately, it's just not where I originally wanted to be. But I'm happy where I'm at. What about your mother? Shoto asked. F her. Stop asking me about my DM and mother. Izuku started walking in the opposite direction. Thanks for listening to me, Shoto. It was nice seeing you. Shoto then grabbed onto Izuku's wrist again. Wait. Again, Shoto. You really need to work on not grabbing people's wrists, man. You got a tight grip. Sorry, I'm curious though. Where will you be going from here? Back to where I belong. With the rest of the outcasts that just couldn't fit in with society because they have different views than others. Can I go now? Izuku tried to walk away from him, only for Shoto's grip to tighten. No, what? Izuku was starting to lose his patience. Can I see you again? Shoto asked. See me again? Why? You're just gonna ambush me to make me go back home or something. I won't. You have my word. I have a lot to think about. I would appreciate it if you could help me with that. I'm not a therapist, Shoto. Neither are we friends. I don't mean it like that. I mean about me not being a hero. Listen, if you really want to take revenge on your father for whatever reason, do something that he would absolutely hate. Ruin his reputation. Prove to him that you're everything that he doesn't want. If you want to be a villain or just a straight-up thug about it, then so be it. Do that. That's what I would do at least. It's like my relationship with Bakugo. He thought I was weak and a spineless nerd. So I left for a few years and grew a pair of nuts. If people think I'm spineless now, then I'll make them kiss my butt. It's that simple, Izuku explained. But everyone in my class, F them too. If you're not happy, then why should you be there? Izuku let out a sigh. Look, how about this? I'll make you a promise since you want to see me again so badly. I will consider meeting with you again, but it can't be tomorrow. It has to be today. You still have to get to school, so I'll meet you after school, outside of the main gates of you. But you need to think of what you're going to do. If you want to rebel, then I'll help you. If not, then pretend that you and I have never met up. Izuku soon got closer to Shoto's face and whispered, You better not tell anyone at school that you've met me or even talk to me either, okay? Not even Uraraka or her friends? Todoroki asked. Not even them. Who knows, maybe I'll see them when I get there. Izuku said with a slight grin, knowing that Uraraka will never be seen again. He still had her head after all. How will they identify her body? Oh wait, they can't. Not without the body at least. They have to find it. Izuku backed away from the other male and talked normally. Anyway, you have school to get to. Think about what I said. I'll see you later. Todoroki let go of Izuku. Izuku shoved his hands back into his pockets and gave Todoroki one last smile before leaving the boy to his thoughts. Maybe he could be of use to me, Izuku thought to himself. When he managed to get back to the bar, Tamura was sitting on a bar stool talking to Kurojuri. Everyone was acting normal. Tomadoma. Guess what? What is it? Tamura asked. I made a new friend today and he might want to become a villain. I think you'll really like him. Who is this friend of yours? Well, you've heard of Endeavor, right? The number 2 hero with the rebellious son. Are you trying to tell me that you've possibly convinced a Todoroki to become a villain? Well, he's at school, so I'm letting him think about it while he's there. I'm gonna meet him after school so I can see what he has decided. Holy CRP. An actual Todoroki might be joining us. Twice said with excitement clear in his voice. Maybe we'll see when I go meet him later. What do you think, Tamura? Izuku asked. I think it will be a nice addition. He came second in the sports festival, so it should be fine. Tamura said, making Izuku grin. Glad you agree. Dabi stayed silent as he listened to the younger boy talk. Todoroki the boy sat at his desk quietly going along with Aizawa's lesson, but he couldn't help but think about what Izuku said. What would happen to him if he completely rebelled against his father? He was that one guy in his class that never associated himself with any of his classmates, so he wasn't too worried about them. They were more focused on the fact that Uraraka didn't come to school. He knew that the boy he had spoken to was right. He didn't want to be like his father. He didn't want to be what his father wanted him to become. Once he was finally able to come to terms with what he wanted, he knew what he needed to do. After school, he quietly and calmly left the room unnoticed, not bothering to talk to anyone. As he walked out of the school gates, he spotted someone in a black and green hoodie and black ripped jeans staring at him. The figure raised a gloved hand and gave a small wave to him. Todoroki walked over to him with a deep sigh because he knew that after today his life would never be the same. The male took off his hoodie and smiled at him. Well, I kept my promise to you. Have you decided on what you're going to do? To have, Todoroki stuttered. Really now? You sound unsure. Don't let me force the hero in training's decision. I want you to be in control of what you decide. No, I have decided. Oh well, don't just stand there and keep me waiting, Todoroki. Tell me what you want, Izuku said as he slowly walked around the male. Todoroki was suddenly cut off by the sound of someone shouting. DKU. You 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧. How dare you show your face around here, you shitty nerd. Bakugo shouted at him. He was being followed by Iida and Kirishima. My for someone who was just telling me to come home is now insulting me. See why I don't want to come back. Anyway, meet me at the nearby park. I'm gonna play a quick game of cat and mouse, shake him off, then I'll meet up with you there. If you meet a man that looks like he's made out of dark fog or a girl with blonde hair wearing a high school uniform, they're friends of mine. Izuku explained as Bakugo stomped towards them. Don't ignore me, shitty Deku. Izuku looked at the blonde-haired boy and faked a look of pure fear before turning around and running. Bakugo stopped in front of Todoroki and growled. The hell did he say to you? He said hello and that it was nice to meet you, and he said that he was a huge fan, Todoroki lied. This only angered the blonde more. Liar. Bakugo said as he used his quirk to try and catch up to Izuku. Iida and Kirishima approached Todoroki to question him. Bro, what's going on? Kirishima asked. Plus, not really sure. Before I could really ask anything, Bakugo started shouting. The two seemed to buy his lies, so Todoroki continued onto the park where the green-eyed boy told him to go. Izuku the boy ran down the sidewalk in a heavily populated area and laughed as he ran. I would have never thought that Kaken would be chasing after me, Izuku said to himself. Deku. Quit running. Deku. Who's Deku? I don't know this Deku that you speak of, Kaken. Perhaps, do you mean the one that took that great swan dive off of the roof? Izuku said, then turned down an alleyway. By the time Bakugo turned down the same alleyway, Izuku was gone. Show yourself. I know it's you, Deku, so you might as well come out and quit hiding. I just want to talk. Bakugo then heard a laugh that chilled him to the bone. It was a laugh belonging to the green-haired male, but it seemed unreal. He couldn't believe that such a sound could come from someone like Deku. Deku was supposed to be a weak hero fanatic that needed to be constantly protected. Who the hell was this? What's wrong, Kaken? Scared of little weak Deku. Don't worry, I can't hurt you, remember. I'm just a waste of space, right? Now, talking to you, you sure didn't seem like you wanted to talk back then, Izuku said in a calm tone. His voice was a bit deeper than Bakugo remembered. It didn't sound right. It sounded sinister, just like his laugh. It was antagonistic even. Who is this? You're not Deku, not the Deku I know. Who are you? You don't even recognize your own childhood friend Kaken. That breaks my heart. Bakugo sees a shadow move, then turns around and sees Izuku standing at the entrance to the alley. Unfortunately, I don't really want to talk to you yet. We'll meet again though. Izuku then turned away and walked off with a small wave. Bakugo rushed to catch him, but as soon as he made it out of the alley, Izuku was gone. Bakugo dropped to his knees and punched the ground out of anger. I was so close, how could I let him escape from me again? I will bring you back home, Just you wait. Katsuki shouted towards the direction that he saw Izuku go, earning a few stares from a few people that were just passing by. Todoroki sat at the park until a girl approached him matching the description that Izuku had given him. Hey there. You're Todoroki, right? Deki told us about you. I'm Toga, nice to meet you. Did you tell him your decision yet? The blonde girl bombarded him with questions, so he took a moment to try and process everything. Yeah, my name is Shoto, but I didn't get to give him my answer. We were rudely interrupted by a few classmates of mine. Well, he saw that coming, which is why he had us on standby. Us. Soon Izuku approached the two with a bright grin on his face. I am so sorry I had to run off on you like that, Shoto. So what is your answer? Are you ready to turn your back on society and become one of us? I mean, at this point, I'd be pretty sad if you said no, since I got chased by an angry Pomeranian. Don't worry, I do want to join you, Shoto said with a slight smile. Izuku grinned, then reached out for Todoroki to take his hand. Welcome aboard. Shoto stood up from the bench that he had been sitting on, then shook Izuku's hand. Izuku then shoved his gloved hand back into his pockets. Kurogyri, we're ready to go. Soon the black mist covered them and warped them out of the park. Kurogyri warped everyone inside of a dark and cold warehouse where Twice and Mr. Compress were waiting. It's about time you showed up, Twice said, making Izuku chuckle. Sorry, I ran into a friend of mine while I was trying to talk to Todoroki. It was a lot of fun. Izuku leaned against the wall with his hands in his pocket and a wide grin on his face. He was happy that Todoroki decided to join them. This would make his life a lot easier, but of course, he couldn't trust the boy so easily. How and why would the son of the number 2 hero Endeavor just want to join a villain group in an act of rebellion? He stared at Shoto, observed his features. He soon walked back over to the boy and placed his hand on Shoto's cheek. How did you get this scar? Izuku asked. Shoto seemed to hesitate for a moment. And my mother, my left side reminded her too much of my father, so she threw boiling hot water on my face. Izuku stared at the taller male with a frown on his face, but his eyes were void of emotion. You poor thing, that's unfortunate. I'm very sorry that something like that happened to you. Now I see why you wanted me to see my mother so badly. Is your father really that bad of a person? Was he abusive? Izuku asked with fake sympathy. He didn't really care, he was just curious. He's the reason my mom is in a mental hospital. He made her think that she was insane. That man is abusive. All he wants from me is to become number 1 using his quirk just to knock All Might down 1 and to prove that his quirk is better, Todoroki explained through clenched teeth. How unfortunate for you to have to go through that. I truly am sorry, Izuku said, taking his hand off of Todoroki's cheek. Can I ask you something now, Izuku? What? My name. Your name. But I thought I lied. Oh, so you really are the boy that went missing 4 years ago, huh? Yup. I see. Well, Izuku, can I ask you something now? Todoroki asked. You just did. Izuku, that's not what I meant. I'll answer your questions soon enough, but first I want you to promise to help me with something. You can consider it your last heroic act, Izuku said as he walked back to his original spot and leaned back against the wall where he was previously. Is this like some sort of test to initiate me or something? Something like that, but not quite. You can think of it as your first mission that will really prove to me that you're willing to become one of us. What I need you to do is help me get rid of the leader of the League of Villains, Shigaraki 𝗬𝗲𝗏. Todoroki's eyes widened when he had remembered 𝗬𝗲𝗏 from the attack on you. Why you want me to do this by myself? Of course not. I really just need you with me to hold him still so that I don't disintegrate into dust by the cheap crusty knockoff of Thanos, if that's okay with you. Toga burst into a fit of laughter. Don't tell him I said that, by the way. Todoroki chuckled lightly at the joke that Izuku made. I won't, ensure I'll help you. Wonderful. Oh, by the way, you holding him down is not my plan. That's way too easy. Now, you had a question for me, what is it? Izuku said with a bit of excitement visible in his eyes. Why are you a villain? You don't seem like someone that should be a villain. I know what you mean. I don't look like someone who would want to kill, steal, take revenge, or anything of the sort. Izuku smiled as he pushed himself off the wall once again and slowly walked closer to him with his hands in his pocket. To be completely honest with you, I'm just doing this out of spite, really. Heroes became heroes for money and fame. I wanted to be a hero because I cared for the general public. You could say that I had a heart of gold. I would stick up for anyone that needed help even though I knew that I didn't stand a chance. I wanted to be that voice that could provide security to others. The voice that could tell everyone that everything would be okay, but I was told by near everyone that I couldn't be one simply because I was quirkless. All Might has tainted the public eye and I hate him for it. Society feeds off of his lies like leeches. It's so sad, but despite all of that, he is not my main goal. My dear friends here want to kill him for their own personal reasons though. If you want to join us because of your hatred for your father, then I personally have no problem with that, and as the soon-to-be new leader of the League of Villains, I am willing to help you in your endeavor. I said a pun. Anyway, society sees villains and heroes as just pure entertainment, so we might as well give them a good show. Besides, it'll be so great to see the look on everyone's faces when they see their favorite heroes go down, and you know what I want you to do. Take down my father and help with taking down All Might. Todoroki said as more of a question. Not only that, but I want you to use your left side. Izuku put a hand up to Shoto's face, seeing that the boy wanted to say something. Let me finish. I hate being cut off and questioned before I even get the chance to explain myself. Izuku placed both of his hands on Todoroki's shoulders and smiled at him. I want you to use your quirk because that fire quirk is your quirk and you have the power to use it however you'd like. By joining us, you have freed yourself from your father's high expectations and abuse. You can use your quirk to prove to your father that he can no longer control you and that you can do whatever the hell you want. Izuku grinned as he let go of the boy and took a step back. Todoroki stared at Izuku with a look of bewilderment. It's mine. It's always been your quirk, Shoto. It's up to you. You can do anything you want with your fire quirk. You don't have to do anything that your father tells you because that fire quirk that you have doesn't belong to him. It was yours since the day you found out that you could use it. Izuku, I can't tell you how much I needed to hear that. Hey, don't be getting all sappy on me just yet. We still have to get rid of 𝗬𝗲𝗏. After we kill him, then you can thank me because then and only then will we be truly free to do whatever we want, because as of right now, we can't do SHT until he's dead and out of the way. I have so many plans for us, but 𝗬𝗲𝗏 being the stuck-up brat he is won't listen to a thing I say. I might as well just do this all myself and form my own hellacious group. That's actually not a bad idea. That can be plan B if everything goes wrong. How do you suppose we take him out? Todoroki asked. Well, first of all, even though I would like to take him out, I at least want him to see something appealing before he dies. It'll be like my own personal little thank you to him for getting me this far. We'll just stir up a bit of trouble in town. Oh, and how do you plan that, Izuku? Toga asked. How you asked? Well, I was thinking of releasing some of the Nomu in the city. It'll certainly make the heroes go nuts. By doing that, we'll also see just how useful the Nomu can be in future plans. How's that for entertainment? When Shoto, is it possible to still have you go back to school? It'll cause more problems if you don't return home and go to school. I don't want police getting involved because you suddenly disappeared, you understand, don't you? I mean, Kaken is already going to be a bit suspicious of you, and that's more than enough. Kaken? Todoroki asked. Oh, my bad. I did it again. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Bakugo is who I'm talking about. When we were kids I used to have trouble pronouncing his name, so I called him Kaken while he called me Deku, which means useless Izuku. Useless Izuku? Why do you still go by Deku then? Isn't it offensive? I'm glad you asked, Shoto. It is offensive. I hate the F out of that name. But I still use it because I want to mess with Kaken. Messing with him is my own personal game that only I know how to play. Why? Why? Because I'm a pages. Izuku let out a small laugh. Okay, let me explain a bit further. I'll give you some more background info on me. Kaken told me to jump off of a rooftop when we were in junior high because he thought I was stupid for taking notes on quirks, because I thought that maybe if I were able to prove him wrong, these notes would help me out later if I ever had to go against the heroes or any villains for training purposes or self-defense purposes. Then, the day after I didn't show up to school and neither did I make it home, and then I was said to be missing. So who knows, he probably thought I killed myself or got kidnapped. Which obviously neither of those happened. I went along willingly because, by all means, I was ready to kill myself anyway. It was tiring getting beaten up by 𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗏 near everyone in school just because you had a dream, I'm so sorry, no need to apologize. At least I can still say that those notes that I took really did come in handy. Your nickname was mentioned in school today. He seemed worried. Shoto stated. Him. Worried? I highly doubt that. Probably shocked more than anything. He's probably angry with me and just wants to finish the job. Anyway, Kaken knows now that I'm alive and I plan on messing with him a bit more in the future just for shits and giggles. Izuku then turned to 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏 with a smile on his face. You're being really quiet back there. Something bothering you, 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏? Izuku was a bit skeptical of the black fog. Since the day before when he asked about becoming the new leader, 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏 didn't give much input and neither did he tell him how he felt about it. He seemed to just accept it and he found that strange. No sir, everything is fine. If you say so. I do have a question for you though. Well, actually scratch that. It might be better if I hear the answer from 𝗓𝗪𝗏 himself. With all of that being said, I believe that we're done here. Todoroki, you will continue to go to school as usual and go home as you normally do until I say otherwise. But remember that you do work for me now. Nothing that happens here or anywhere with us is spoken of elsewhere, understand? What happens in the league, stays in the league, right? I understand. Good, time to head home. Return home and speak nothing of this. Todoroki nodded, then turned around and walked out of the old warehouse. Midoriya, are you sure that we can trust this kid? Mr. Compress asked once the student had left. Todoroki isn't someone to worry about. He's put himself too deep in this to turn back. If he does betray us, then he'll just end up like his rosy-cheeked classmate. 2 days after talking to Todoroki, Izuku stood in the basement of the villain base in front of 𝗓𝗪𝗏. His arms were folded behind his back. As he approached the older male. May I ask you something? What is it, my child? 𝗓𝗪𝗏 replied, what exactly happens when you give someone multiple quirks? Is that what the 𝗓𝗏𝗄 are? That's exactly right. The 𝗓𝗏𝗄 are human test subjects that are produced to hold multiple quirks. Fortunately, the 𝗓𝗏𝗄 become mindless, powerful beings that are easier for us to control. Izuku smiled as he looked into the many tanks that were filled with developing 𝗓𝗏𝗄. Do you think I can borrow them tonight, sir? What do you have planned? 𝗓𝗪𝗏 asked out of pure curiosity. Well, I thought it would be funny if we messed with the heroes a bit. Just stir up a bit of trouble, maybe put a little tension between the heroes and citizens, or maybe he's plotting against one of us. Izuku's eyes widened as he slowly turned and saw 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏 standing behind them. He couldn't say that he was surprised about 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏 betraying him. He knew something was off about him. Plotting against one of you. I'd have no reason to do so. Besides, it's because of you all that I've found a new purpose in life. So, you're not planning on doing anything to 𝗓𝗪𝗏 then? 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏 asked in an accusatory tone. Izuku puts a hand to his chest in offense. Of course not, 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏. What are you talking about? 𝗬𝗪𝗏 is like an older brother to me. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here now. I would have either A. Slit my throat, B. Hung myself, C. Overdosed on pills, or D. Jumped off the school roof like I was told to do. I may have the heart of a killer, but 𝗬𝗲𝗓 just isn't someone that I could or would want to kill. Sir, can you not see that this boy lies? He wants to get rid of 𝗬𝗲𝗓 for his own personal gain. Oh really? Just what would I gain from killing 𝗬𝗲𝗓? I mean, I could probably get rid of All Might faster than he ever could, but again I will say this because apparently no one has been listening to me for who knows how many times I've said it in the past 4 years. I don't give about All Might. My goal is my childhood best friend and 𝗬𝗲𝗓 has nothing to do with him. I like to play with my food before eating it. I like to play with Kaken before getting rid of him just like I did his classmate. Izuku took a deep breath to calm himself before he went into a rage. Let's not forget that you have no proof to verify your claims against me. Another thing to not forget is that I'm quirkless and basically powerless against him. You've managed to turn the league against him. I've done no such thing, 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏. Why would anyone want to listen to a quirkless boy? I'm like the least threatening of the entire team. Although, leading a whole gang does sound kind of fun, but also very troubling. I'd rather take care of myself. Plus, if I had actually somehow managed to do that, I don't think all of them would be calmly sitting upstairs, talking to him now. You're insane, Midoriya. Just admit that you want to take over the league. You're calling me insane. Have you seen where you are at this stage in your life? Maybe I am insane. Maybe I'm a sociopath. Well, yeah, I am a sociopath. No doubt about that one, but despite whoever or whatever I am, I still have morals and limits. I would never hurt 𝗬𝗲𝗓 and neither would I want to take over his position. If it ever came down to it, I'd rather live in an apartment somewhere and just take care of myself and exact my revenge that way, but guess what? I have a family here and I love everyone here. I even loved you. I used to see you as a parental figure. Izuku gave 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏 a look that told him that he could keep this up all day, which made 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏 visibly upset. Boys, calm down. All for one called out to them. Izuku looked down sadly, then turned away from the black fog. This sucks. I know I'm a villain, but I didn't think my own friend would turn against me and try to get me killed. All for one motioned for Izuku to come to him. Izuku took a few steps closer to him and All for one reached up and placed his hands on the young boy's shoulders. Not everything is fair in this world, Izuku. Unfortunately, we live in a world where even your closest friends will turn on you. You should know that better than anyone. I know that I just didn't expect it from my favorite person. I expected it more from 𝗬𝗏𝗏, to be honest. 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏, stay down here. Izuku, you can go ahead back upstairs. I'll give you permission to use the 𝗵𝗲, but you can only use 3 for right now. Izuku smiled happily and bowed slightly. Thank you, sir. He quickly walked back up the stairs with a frown on his face. Why the long face, Midoriya? 𝗬𝗏𝗏 asked as he watched Midoriya walk over to the group. Was All for one against us using the 𝗵𝗲? Toga asked. You two, come with me. Outside. Toga and 𝗬𝗏𝗏 glanced at one another before getting up out of their seats and following Izuku outside. What did you two do? Twice asked. Toga and 𝗬𝗏𝗏 just shrugged and walked outside and away from the building. Izuku, I'm sorry. I don't know what we did to piss you off, but please don't be mad at us. Toga pleaded. Izuku gave a confused look before shaking his head and starting to mess with his silver hoop earring that was in his left ear. The hell are you talking about? I'm not mad at you. I just needed to tell you something. I don't know if the interior or exterior of the building has cameras or what, so I came out here to talk to you too. Oh. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 sighed. Unfortunately for us, 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏𝗏 is apparently loyal to 𝗬𝗲𝗓. He already tried to rat me out to All for one. So I don't know what's going to happen. There's always gotta be that one traitor. Why did it have to be the bartender? He was so nice, Toga sighed. But hey, at least the rest of the gang is with you and we just added that new guy. He can totally replace 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏𝗏. You're right, Toga, but his warp gate quirk was really useful. I just wish there were a way to give a 𝗵𝗲𝗏 his quirk. But I'm not All for one anyways. That's all I needed to tell you. Let's get back inside before 𝗬𝗲𝗏𝗏 gets suspicious. Izuku raised an eyebrow when he heard 𝗬𝗏𝗏 sigh. Things can never be easy, can they? 𝗬𝗏𝗏 asked. Nope. Let's go. Izuku said as he walked back into the bar. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and Toga followed close behind him. Izuku smiled once he walked through the door and hugged 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏. I can't wait to release the 𝗵𝗃 tonight. The heroes are gonna be so busy and it'll be a wonderful show for all of the citizens that see heroes and villains fighting as just a form of entertainment. Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder and without flinching, he calmly looked up and over his shoulder to see Magna. You have a lot of pent-up aggression towards people, don't you? Magna asked. Yes, I do. I hate 𝗵𝗏 near everything, Izuku said with a smile on his face. Do you like anything? Twice asked. Izuku put his fist to his chin as he thought for a moment about things he enjoyed in life. Let's see food, water, breathing, you guys, my weird yet f-up sense of humor, that lavender-scented soap that's in the bathroom. My suit because it's pretty comfy, the look of fear and pain on people's faces, I can't think of anything else. 𝗵𝗏, that's sad, 𝗬𝗏 stated. I am a sad piece of human waste, and after being told that so many times in my life, I just embrace it now. Oh, and before I forget, Tomo, I need to talk to you. I know you don't usually care for drama, but you're the only one I can talk to about this. As our leader, I figured that you would be the best person to ask. Just spit it out. Tomoura groaned. I'm scared. I don't want to die, but Kurohige is against me. I don't know what I did to upset him, but he came up with this wild idea to try and tell all for one that I was trying to get rid of you. Why, you know I wouldn't do that to you. You know that, don't you? Tomoura was silent for a moment. Don't just sit there and not say anything. I may be a villain, but I still have standards. Tomoura, you're the only reason I even got this far in life. If it weren't for you, I'd be dead. I would have killed myself 4 years ago, and you know that. You're like an older brother to me. What reason would I have for killing you anyway? Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't stand a chance, so what's the point? Relax, Izuku, Shigaraki interjected. What do you mean relax? You're not saying anything about this. Kurohige wants me killed, and now I feel like you don't trust me because you won't tell me what you're thinking. I may be able to take good notes on a person's quirk, but I'm not a mind reader. How the F do you expect me to relax? Izuku seemed to be in near tears as he looked at Shigaraki with a glare, hurt visible in his eyes. You know what? Forget it. It's fine. I'm sorry I yelled. I'll be in my room if anyone needs me. Izuku said as he turned his back to everyone and walked back to his room, wiping his face from the tears that managed to drip down his face. Izuku wasn't hurt at all. He just wanted Shigaraki to hear his side before Kurohige had the chance to say anything. The green-eyed boy wasn't worried in the slightest. Kurohige was about to learn that he had everyone in the league wrapped around his finger, and that includes Shigaraki. He sat down on his bed and waited for 5 minutes, and on cue he heard a knock at the door which made him grin. He laid down on the bed with his back facing the door. Come in. Tomoura opened the door and Izuku looked over his shoulder to make sure that it was indeed his older brother that came to see him. Izuku, you didn't let me finish what I had to say before you walked off. Shigaraki started. What more is there to talk about? Izuku asked as he sat up and looked straight at Tomoura. Well, unfortunately I believe you. Sad to say that who I thought was my most loyal turned out to be a traitor. Why you believe me? Izuku asked with a smile on his face. He knew Shigaraki would choose him. Now the question is, what are we going to do with him now that we know that he's a traitor? Maybe he's working with the heroes. While I was trying to get Todoroki on board, Kurohige was left alone for a while. Who knows what could have happened with him during that time? What we do know is that he's probably trying to pin us against each other in hopes that we all take each other out. I think we should get rid of him, that way he won't be a threat to us. His physical body is completely made out of the black fog, so it'll be hard, but his weak spot from I know so far are the metal plates that he always wears. I also still have another problem. What's that? Well, I just so happened to come up with an idea that you might like. It might do good for both of us. Just spill Midoriya. Okay, sorry, I was just thinking that maybe along with the plan to wreak havoc on the city tonight, wouldn't it be fun if we managed to capture Shoto as well? It'll be crazy. The second place winner of the 𝗬𝗏 festival has gone missing and 𝗵𝗏 are attacking the city. It'll definitely put the heroes in deep SHT because a lot of people may die and the citizens may start to question the worth of a lot of heroes since they're failing to not only keep them safe but also the children that attend you. Hi. I mean, if I were a parent, I'd be pretty pissed at the heroes for failing to protect my child that is enrolled at a school where heroes are the teachers and faculty, you know. Izuku said with a grin. Isn't that half-cold, half-hot kid one of us though? Shigaraki questioned. Exactly, which is why it'll be really easy. 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗧, I actually like that idea. I'll make you a deal, Midoriya. We'll pretend that I never figured out the issue between you and 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 long enough to act out this pretend capture, and if all goes well, I'll make you my second in command and we'll get rid of 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏. It's a shame really, his quirk was very useful. Midoriya. Come quick, you got to see this, he heard Twice call for him. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏, what now? Izuku got off of his bed and left the room with the white-haired male following close behind him. I accept your offer of being second in command, Tomu. I'm honored to be of use. Tomura simply nodded as they came back to the bar area. What's up? Izuku asked, only to see Dabi point at the TV. Izuku took a seat on one of the bar stools and looked at the TV. He could see the news reporters saying that authorities were on the lookout for a missing child as they showed a picture of him and another of Uraraka. Izuku then burst into laughter. He knew that news of him being alive would get out. Now the police were out looking for him once again. Aren't you worried, Zuzu? Toga asked with a hint of worry in her tone. Worried? Why would I be worried? This just makes everything more interesting. I knew Kaken wouldn't keep his mouth shut. He's so smart yet so stupid. It's absolutely wonderful. I can't wait to get my hands on him. Oh, how I would love to make him suffer, which reminds me. We're gonna kidnap Todoroki today. He doesn't know it yet, but we're gonna infiltrate you. Today just to go and get him. Doesn't he work with us though? Twice asked, confused about the entire situation. You're absolutely right, but Tomu and I agreed that it would be a good idea to stir up trouble at you. Because we'll be releasing Nomu into the city tonight. It'll certainly put the heroes in hot water because not only am I considered missing but two you students will be missing, and what's more troubling than knowing that your child goes to a school filled with heroes that are incapable of keeping their students safe. It'll most likely affect All Might too since he's also a teacher there. Are you gonna come with us, Zuzu? Toga asked with a smile on her face. What use would I be? Well, you do have the brains. You can spectate and give us directions. Mr. Compress approached Izuku at the bar and placed a 460 Magnum pistol onto the counter. You do know how to use one of these, don't you? Of course, Atsuhiro. I don't just stick to knives, that would be dumb of me. Well, good, this pistol is fully loaded so that when we infiltrate you, you won't be defenseless. We'll even give you a few thugs to help. Or we could just break into his house, graffiti the F out of his room and stare at him and say, hey loser, we're leaving and never coming back, Dabi suggested. Good idea. But that's no fun. Izuku stated with a bored look on his face. Wouldn't it be funny if we acted as if we kidnapped you too? Now that the police are looking for you again, it would prove to everyone just how dangerous we are. Twice added. Izuku grinned and nodded to the suggestion. Sound like fun? Let's do it. From what Todoroki told me this morning through text message, Class 1A will be gathered at the 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗧 today. Now, since we have the details of everyone in Class 1A, we can now redo and correct the mistakes of the first 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗧 incident, the first attack on the 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗧. We had no information on the students, and when you separated them, you put most of them in places that worked more in their favor. I would suggest that we use two Nomu for this, and the one I would love to use is Tsubasa, and that eyeless Nomu since it can absorb and send back emitter quirks. It will also come in handy if All Might decides to show his face since he also has an emitter quirk. Who is Tsubasa? Shigaraki asked. Tsubasa was the name of one of Kaken's friends back when we were kids. Those two and one other used to pick on me some time after they found out that I was quirkless. In theory, Tsubasa and the winged Nomu are the same beings, and if I'm right, well, if he gets killed in battle it'll be hilarious, but if he survives then we can use him again when we attack Hosa City tonight. Tsubasa will only really be there to PSS Kaken off. The main one that would be good to have them fight against is Eyeless Jack. Our Eyeless Nomu. Sound like a plan? Everyone nodded in agreement with grins on their faces, and some visibly showing their excitement. It was obvious to everyone in the class that Katsuki was infuriated. He had been looking down at his desk with an absent look on his face as he thought about his childhood best friend. He finally managed to see Deku again, but he wasn't fast enough to grab him and drag him back home. He was pissed at himself, but he was also beyond confused. He didn't know what Izuku meant when he said that he wasn't there to talk to him yet and that they would meet again. When will they meet again? What was with that laugh? Had his mind been warped into something else? Was he even the Deku that he remembered? He's starting to think that maybe he hallucinated the whole thing. He didn't want to admit it, and neither was he going to, but he was kind of worried. Did villains change him for the worst? But then again, how would he have become friends with his classmates? Nothing added up. Kirishima would try to talk to him, but his attempts were only met with insults or telling him to shut up because he was thinking. Katsuki's eyes then shifted over to Todoroki. After seeing him talk to Deku 2 days ago, the boy had seemed off. The half-hot half-cold boy seemed as if he were brooding about something. He wanted to know what he and Deku had been talking about. He knew that the boy was lying to him about their conversation because now Todoroki had been acting off ever since that day. He wanted to confront him, and what better way to confront him than when they train in the 𝗧𝗪. Everyone had moved to the locker rooms on Aizawa's command to get dressed in their hero uniforms. He heard Todoroki's phone go off, then he looked towards the boy as he slowly started to get annoyed with the sound. "Hey, hurry up and shut your DMN phone off." Todoroki gave Bakugo a look that showed that he was a bit surprised before going back to his normal gaze as he took his phone out of his pocket and checked it. His eyes seemed to widen at whatever the message said before going back to his normal emotionless expression and texting the person back. Todoroki POV: while I changed into my hero uniform, my phone started to go off, but it didn't process in my mind until Bakugo yelled at me for it. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, and as soon as my screen lit up I saw Izuku's name flash across the screen. But why is he texting me? He knows I'm in school. I unlocked my phone and my eyes widened when I read it. "Izuku, hey, hopefully you read this before it's too late, but we're attacking the 𝗧𝗪, and I'll be there being used as bait. Also, be warned that Kurogiri is a traitor, so I would advise watching out for him. I fear he may actually try to kill me during this." So, Kurogiri is a traitor now. I'm confused. What are we going to do about Shigaraki? Does Shigaraki still trust him? Do I have to change targets? Instead of asking myself this, I decided to text back. "Me, is Shigaraki still my target? What do you want me to do?" We were then called out to the shuttle bus so that we could be taken over to the 𝗧𝗪, and as I walked I couldn't help but feel the typical anxiety creep up my spine. Not because of the upcoming attack, but because I've been left out of the loop. A lot has happened with the League within the 2 days that they hadn't contacted me, and I guess now I can see why Izuku didn't contact me at all. Once I got into the shuttle and found a seat to myself, I waited for a reply. When his reply came to me, I let out a small sigh of relief as I pulled my phone back out of my pocket, making sure to put it on vibrate this time. When I looked at the message, it was sent in intervals. "Izuku, forget about 𝗵𝗲 for now. I'll explain everything to you later. Just know that you're coming with us, and I'll be pretending to be a hostage. Izuku, do listen to your teacher, but in the end, let yourself be captured along with me. Keep a close eye on Kurogiri because I have no doubt in my mind that he'll try to kill me since he's been trying to do that since this morning. Izuku will be blowing a hole in the back of the building of the 𝗧𝗪 as a backup escape route in case Kurogiri does try to pull something. Me, if he does. Izuku, is 13 with you? Me, yes, why? Izuku, aim for the metal plates on Kurogiri. Without the metal plates it should be a bit easier for them to use their black hole quirk on Kurogiri. Me, how do you even know who 13 is? Have you seen them on TV? Has the League really been treating you well? Izuku, no, have you seen me? Oh, wait, every time you see me I'm wearing a hoodie to cover up my face and body. Izuku, anyway, I could be DMN near considered anorexic. I literally survive on water and 1 meal a day and maybe a snack if someone thinks about me. Izuku, there's also the fact that I sleep in a room that's pretty dark with no windows. I mean, like I tell everyone besides my brain, I'm pretty useless. If I were to die nobody would miss me and neither would anyone try to help me. Izuku, so there's really no point in me trying to get everyone to treat me well. I gave up on that a long time ago. Izuku, oh wait. I'm sorry I'm getting off track. We do have a TV, so I managed to learn about 13 through that. Me, do you even sleep? Izuku, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm awake questioning my existence, sometimes I'm dead. Izuku, I sleep like the dead and I'm quiet when I sleep, so twice likes to wake me up just to ask me if I'm dead. Me, wow me, when this is all over between us, 𝗧𝗪𝗏 and Shigaraki, I'll try to take you somewhere so that you can get food in your stomach. It'll be like a celebration of you becoming the new leader. Izuku, that's nice Shoto, but I can't guarantee I'll eat it though. If I eat too much my stomach will hurt. Me, it's still worth a shot. Izuku, whatever you say. I know it's only been a few days, but I still question how Izuku is so willing to just have casual conversations with me. It's almost like I actually have someone to consider a friend. Does he consider us friends? Should I ask? Me, can I ask you something? Izuku, you just did. Me, Midoriya. Izuku, what is it? Me, do you consider us friends? Izuku, no. I was taken back a bit by his quick response, but then again, what did I expect? Izuku is a villain after all, and let's not forget that it's only been a few days since we met Izuku. If a friend is what you want me to consider you, then so be it. Just help me. If you help me, then I'll help you. Me deal. Soon the bus stopped and we all got out. It's been 3 years since the first incident here. I don't really know how I feel about knowing that villains are going to attack this place again and not being able to warn everyone. It's gonna take me a while to get used to being a villain. Izuku already has a good relationship with the other students, so him being used as bait should be easy for him. As we walked into the building 13 and Aizawa explained what was expected of us to practice on. I almost wish I weren't going to be taken today. I could practice using my other side. My fire quirk. We stood in the central plaza. Everyone had smiles on their faces and looks of excitement. As Aizawa started to assign everyone a zone they would train in, we all paused as we saw a black fog form at the center of the room. No. I remember this. It's the bad guys. We need to get out while we still can. Mineta shouted as he turned to run, only to see a black fog cover the door. Good afternoon, everyone. Before you try to run, I think it would be in your best interest to see what we have to offer. Why does 𝗧𝗪𝗏 always sound so polite? Almost makes it hard to hate him almost. Everything looked the same as last time. Shigaraki appeared from the fog with almost the same amount of thugs at his side. The Nomu seemed different though, but is the quirk the same? The hell are you getting at? I heard Katsuki shout, Kaken. We all turned our attention towards where Shigaraki stood, and next to him was Izuku being held by 2 thugs. His hands were tied behind his back and his eyes were filled with sadness, almost as if he were about to cry. 𝗵𝗲, his acting skills are on point. Katsuki POV. My eyes widened when I heard that familiar nickname. I slowly walked forward to get a closer look, and I almost wished that I hadn't looked. It was Deku, the one who I thought was dead for the entirety of 4 years. He really has changed throughout the years. Now that I could finally see him, I noticed that his right ear was pierced, the tips of his hair are red, he wore a black torn t-shirt and black jeans that were torn, his hands were tied behind his back, and he was staring at me with a look of pain and sadness. A look that I knew all too well. I could hear my classmates mutter pointlessly like, oh no, they got Midoriya. Yeah, no SHT. We can see that. In case the pro hero doesn't recognize the poor boy, this is the same boy that had been missing for 4 years who we've broken, and now he just awaits his death. The dark mass randomly spoke out. The hell did he mean, await his death? DKU. So you wanna die? You're not the DU that I know. DU would never give up. He'd be that annoying piece of that kept getting back up and coming back to annoy the shit out of me. I was furious. The Deku I knew never gave up. He always followed me no matter how many times I pushed him down. He can't be Deku. That's not the Deku I know. I stared at him to see his reaction. He looked at me with wide eyes only for his gaze to shift to the ground. I'm sorry, I can't keep fighting like this anymore. It's been 4 years, Kaken. I give up. How do I get the thugs away from him? If I try to blow them away, I could hit Deku, but at the same time he should be used to my explosions by now. Bakugo, I know what you're thinking. Do not try to fight them. They're probably after you since they saw you win the sports festival. Izawa-sensei instructed. Like I give a SHT about that. Deku is right in front of me. I already let him escape me once. I'm not letting that SHT happen again. Kaken, please don't fight them. Shut up, you shitty but nerd. Don't tell me what the hell to do. Izuku POV, he called me Deku. He still kept the nickname. That's so cute. So F cute. I just want to tie him up and love him with punches to the face because we're best friends, and according to him that's what friends do to each other. Well, maybe not the tie-up part, but punches yes. I had to SCK my lips in to keep myself from smiling. Why does he even care? Did me disappearing for 4 years trigger something in his brain? Meh, I don't care enough to find out. Midoriya, what the F? That's your friend? Twice asked in a low tone. I could only sigh at the question. Yup, that's him. I mumbled. Why you villains here? I assume it's not because of a change of heart. Right, you are the eraser hero. We would like to do a trade. Shigaraki said. You know, I kinda want to see what his facial expression is, but he has those dumb hands on his face again. The trade? Eraser head questioned. Yes, we want Todoroki Shoto, and in exchange, we'll set this boy free. Shigaraki, I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone, I started with hesitation. In my voice, you keep your mouth shut. I bit my lip to keep myself from laughing. I was then surprised when I was warped closer to the group, and then there was something I also noticed. My upper half was not connected to my lower half. My lower half was still sitting next to Shigaraki. Is he really about to try and snap me in half now? Ding, he works quick. Give us the boy or he dies. When we said force, this is not what we meant. We meant to fight, not break my butt in half like a toothpick, you stupid. I still see your shadows in my room, beach, but I started to panic a bit when I felt my body being squeezed. I glared up at Kurogyari and he looked at me with eyes that pretty much told me that he was smirking. I knew he couldn't be trusted. I looked at Todoroki with panic visible on my face and he understood. See, he better understand. I just got an actual friend and now you're telling me that I'm about to die. Death can kiss my butt at this moment. Where the F did their teacher even G? Oh wait, he's fighting with Shigaraki and getting his butt kicked by Arnomu, never mind. Todoroki quickly ran towards me followed by Kaken. Wait, why the hell is Kaken running? He shouldn't care. I mean, even if he does, I don't care, it's too late for that. Come on Izuku, don't start feeling remorse now. The F are you doing? You've killed too many to start caring at this point. Wait, you do. 13 shouted, but they didn't listen. I wonder if the metal brace breaks, will Kurogyari die? What if the metal plates are the only thing keeping him together? Let's find out. Aim for the metal plates. You have to break them. Got it. Todoroki shouted. So if I break the plates he'll die, right? Kaken asked, how the hell should I know, you blonde angry Pomeranian bimbo? F maybe. If not, then F me. I guess we're all screwed. Katsuki somehow managed to grab onto Kurogyari's metal plate and pin Kurogyari to the ground, causing him to let go of me. Over here. I looked up to see Kirishima waving me over, and once I was set free I wasted no time and ran over and hid behind him. Don't worry Deku, they won't get their hands on you again. Kirishima tried to reassure me. Thanks Kiri, I'm so sorry about all of this. Hey, don't sweat it. It's not your fault. It's theirs. Little did you know that I, the legendary manipulator Izuku Midoriya, am the one that is behind all of this. Kurogyari looked over at me and chuckled. You know something, child, you're more insufferable than Toga. But that brain of yours is something else. Don't tell me this man is gonna try to expose me. If you had a quirk, maybe you'd be stronger than 𝗬𝗲𝗵𝗆. Something in me snapped at that very moment and I could help but call him out. You're one to talk. I'm not the one pinned to the ground now, am I? I don't know what you have against me, but I haven't done SHT to you. This whole thing that you're doing is stupid. Kaken stared at me with wide eyes. He's never heard me get mad before. 13 was holding Kurogyari at bay as he pointed at Kurogyari with his open fingertips to SCK Kurogyari into a black hole. Unfortunately, it would only work if the metal plates weren't there. I guess fire and explosions weren't enough. 13. I can melt the brace. If we melt the brace, then it'll be easier to use your quirk on him. Ishido said as she ran over to 13. That's smart, Kirishima said. Oh, nothing, Kiri, I'm sorry, Shoto. While the villain is distracted, take the boy to somewhere safe. 13 shouted. Such an idiot, if only he knew. Todoroki looked down at me and I looked back at him from the corner of my eye. Let's go. We can hide out in the ruins zone, he said. I simply nodded and let him lead me there. Not missing Shigaraki motion towards a few thugs to come after us. Once we entered the ruins, I slowed my pace and couldn't help but let out the laugh that I had been holding in. What's this all about, Izuku? 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Oh right, we want the heroes to be seen as incapable of truly protecting the lives of the innocent. So, we came here to take you away while also using me as a teaser and to also make it seem as if even though the heroes were presented with the chance to save a young boy like me, they were still useless when it came to saving me, and they even lost one of their own students. Soon a few of the thugs surrounded us and Todoroki stood in a fighting stance until I put a hand out in front of him. Calm thyself there with me. They're gonna see or tee us out of here. So either you can pretend to be unconscious or put on your best damsel in distress act. Or the third option, we just sneak out of here. We only have 5 minutes until the heroes show up anyway, since we didn't bother with jamming the systems. It'd be best if we just sneak out, Todoroki suggested. Alrighty then, sneaking out it is. Izuku Midoriya, hey Shoto. I have a question for ya. Yes, Midoriya. Well, actually 2, maybe more. Todoroki chuckled at me. It's not my fault I have a ton of questions after getting a full glimpse of his class. Okay, I might sound crazy for a minute, but work with me. How would you feel if we nabbed one of your classmates? Nabbed? But you're already kidnapping me. Why would you need another one? Well, I can't kill you now, can I? I mean, we're friends, so I can't tie you up to a chair and cut you up, right? I can't stab your legs to stop you from running away or anything because we're friends. You need help, Midoriya. I don't need help, Todoroki. I don't need to be fixed. I can't be fixed. You know why? Well, it's because I'm not broken. My eyes were just opened kind of forcefully, but they're open. Anyway, I want to torture someone, so I'll let you pick who. 𝗵𝗃𝗲. No. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 is the short one, right? The one that's like 3, 6, 1/2 inch. What would be the benefits of killing him? I mean, he's kind of annoying. The only thing he has going for him would be his quirk with the sticky ball on his head. But, really, what benefit would it have? I mean, I'd be getting rid of a nuisance. What about that guy Shoji? He's that guy that can move around his body parts to one of his 6 arms. He looks really cool, but what would it be like to chop off one of those limbs of his? What if one of his eyes is on one of his 6 arms and I chop it off? Would that mean that he loses one of his eyes? Or maybe that guy with the tail? Todoroki shook his head in disappointment. Hey, what about 𝗧𝗵𝗲? I 𝗧𝗵𝗲. But I 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I couldn't help but pout. He kept cutting me off and I hate being cut off, but I also have a better idea. Listen, Shoto, before we do anything, I want one thing to be clear between us. And what's that? Even though I'm a villain, I'm not like those that just kill without reason. What benefit would there be in killing 𝗵𝗃𝗲? Neither do I feel like getting one of those things stuck to me. Do you know who would be good to get rid of? Iida. Iida. Why him? Todoroki looked slightly panicked and I couldn't help but frown in disappointment. Listen, Shoto, if you're gonna be my friend and a villain, then you need to throw away your hero mentality completely, I said as I looked towards the thugs that had been with us. You two go and get Iida. He's the tall guy with the glasses. The only guy with glasses. Also, if you see Shigaraki, tell him that we've been secured, and also, thank you for your help. The thugs nodded and ran back to the central plaza. Anyway, as I was saying, you are a villain now. You have to let this 𝗧𝗃𝗲 go. You have to let them go. If you don't, you're gonna lose everything and miss opportunities. You hate your father, don't you? Don't you want to get rid of him? Didn't you tell me something along those lines? I did and still do. Then pull your head out of your butt. We have 𝗧𝗃𝗲 to do. Your school friends will only cause you trouble. They'll make you miss perfect opportunities that you'll never get back. They are not worth your happiness. If you can't let go of them, then they will forever hold you back. I promised to hold up my end of our deal. You have to hold up your end, Shoto. Now let's go. Todoroki nodded and fell silent until we had finally managed to wander outside of the 𝗧𝗪. You know what sucks about this? Now we have to walk all of the ways back to the base. It's not so bad, Midoriya, he said as we made it back onto the main street. You're right, I mean there's a villain attack going on right now, I said as I pointed to a villain trying to devour the citizens. Should we help? Todoroki asked. I walked down an alleyway and climbed up a wall of steel pipes up to the roof of a building. I noticed Shoto before following me. Midoriya, may I ask you something? I gave him a blank look and he shook his head. Midoriya, did you ever have any hope before you turned into a villain? I couldn't help but chuckle a bit. Of course I did. I had more hope than anyone could ever imagine. I used to be such a bright and happy kid. I used to be a huge fan of All Might too. I'd see all of the movies that he was in, I collected the merchandise. Even when I was a kid, my mother would pretend to be in danger and I would put on my All Might hoodie and go and save her. I couldn't help but smile at the memories. During those times, life was so easy. Do you miss your mother? Well, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't, but she betrayed me when I needed her love and support the most. She's so dull and lifeless without me. It's sad. Pitiful really. Anyway, you know, it's strange how much you can get done with just the use of your brain as a villain, but yet I couldn't be a hero. Sounds pretty F up, don't you think? I'm sure many quirkless people can do heroic 𝗧𝗃 without a quirk. I had to always wonder, why am I so different? Why was I useless, Izuku? Why am I Deku? I took a deep breath and sighed. It's okay though. I found a place where I could be of use, have fun, and actually have friends that won't beat the 𝗧𝗃 out of me like Kaken. Well, except Dabi. During my first few years of being claimed as missing, him and I got into a lot of fights. Like I'd start throwing stuff at him. Bakugo, is he why you're like this? Main reason, yes. He started it all. Shigaraki gave me this new chance at life. It's a shame that he has to die, but he's in my way. Although Kaken isn't the only reason I'm like this. Well, maybe he is. It was like a domino effect. His bullying caused my class to bully me, and my class bullying me caused the school to bully me. I was depressed. He told me to kill myself. My dumbest said, "Ouch, my cold dead heart." Then I walked to school the next day, got beat up. Shigaraki found me and offered me a place. I said, "Oh, okay." I was about to go jump off a building anyway, and here I am. Suddenly my phone started to vibrate and I had to debate with myself to answer it or not. Eventually I answered the phone. "Sir, I have bad news." It was Jean calling me. I knew I shouldn't have picked up. "What's wrong?" Twice. Well, 𝗧𝗪𝗏 escaped and he took Shigaraki with him. I signed in disappointment. I can't say that I didn't see this coming because I totally did. What do you want us to do, Spite? Nothing. Get out of the 𝗧𝗪𝗏 and bring that blue-haired guy with the glasses with you. That kid who looks like Ingenium. That's the one. Good luck. But he escaped. He's getting the teachers. Let someone escape. I let out a heavy sigh as I pinched the bridge of my nose. Nothing is working in my favor. Find him and bring him to me. Good luck. All I got is luck on my side. So you say? I took my phone away from my ear and hung up before Jean could say anything, then placed it back into my pocket. Why can't anything ever go right? Hey, why don't we go and grab something to eat? It might help calm your nerves. Todoroki offered. I guess. He took me to the nearest cafe and asked me what I wanted. I waved my hand at him dismissively and said, "Doesn't matter," as I found us a table. Something about Todoroki was confusing to me. Todoroki soon sat down in front of me and I intertwined my fingers together. "Shoto." He let out a soft hum as a response. "I want to ask you something." "What is it?" "I know that I've only known you for a few days, but why are you still sticking with me? Why are you being so nice to me? If you decided to leave, I wouldn't go after you or anything. I mean, at this point it doesn't matter what happens to me. I've attempted to hurt your friends, I've killed hundreds of civilians. I tend to lecture you like I'm your parents, so why? To be honest, I don't know why. It might be curiosity, maybe it's because of what you said about me and my father. It hit home. I'm curious about you though. I want to learn more about you. Midoriya, you don't look like someone that should be a villain. Oh. I sat back in my seat as I tried to comprehend what exactly he was telling me. Yes, you look so innocent, and when I first met you at the mall with Ochako, the fact that you're a villain still confuses me, and I would love to know how it got to this point with you. What exactly did Bakugo do to you? You were childhood friends, yet you fell apart. What did that do to you emotionally? I slowly looked down at the table and nodded. I see, so curiosity is the reason. Well, I'm not ready to talk to you about those sorts of things yet. I don't go into full detail about my life with just anyone, you know. But maybe if you were to show me what you're willing to do for me, then maybe I'll open up to you, but if not, then it's okay. With that being said, Todoroki, I will give you one final chance to run away from this. I won't send anyone after you, that I can promise. Hell, I'll forget these past few days. You can go back to your normal life, because once you're a villain there is no turning back. Todoroki shook his head to my surprise. I was expecting him to run. He always seemed so worried about his friends. I thought he would run and try to help them. I'm staying. I just have to keep focused, and I know I can live up to your expectations. Todoroki said, Don't do this for me, Shoto, do this for yourself. You do not have to make me your new purpose in life. Even if you don't want to kill your father and you just want to be a thug to rebel, then do that. Just think about yourself and what you need. Todoroki nodded, then looked up at me. Is this how you function as a villain? Plus, this is exactly how I function. I live day to day only looking after myself. I might have to change up a bit since now I'll be looking after the league, but yeah. I mean, if someone dies in the league, then someone dies. That'll be a major loss, but we'll find a way to cope. But if you do plan on staying with us, now that you've given me the official okay, I will not let you go. You can never ever go back. I lowered my voice into a whisper as I moved closer to him. To make sure that you don't go back, I want you to take a life. Todoroki's eyes had widened, then he stared down at the table. Do you still want to stay? I asked with a smirk on my face. I had to test him somehow. I need to know if he's truly willing to do anything to work with me. He nodded, then stood up. Our orders are ready, he said as he got up and walked to the counter. I leaned back in my seat and sighed. Did he just say yes? Izuku Midoriya. As I watched Todoroki drink his tea and eat, I couldn't help but question myself. What am I going to tell All For One? I could tell him that Kurogiri kidnapped him, or maybe that he was killed by the heroes because he 𝗧𝗵𝗲 because the heroes managed to overpower us, but we were still able to accomplish what we came for. I have so many things running through my mind. All For One, Shigaraki's disappearance, because I'm sure that will come back to bite me in the butt later. I have to come up with a person for Todoroki to get rid of. It's all so stressful, but I can't complain because I brought this upon myself. Midoriya. Todoroki's voice brought me out of my thoughts. I looked at him with a blank stare, only to notice that he was looking at my food. Why aren't you eating? He asked. I looked down at my plate and groaned. I knew if I ate I'd have to deal with a major stomach ache later on, or I'd end up puking it back up. You only drank your tea. He looked at me with disappointment visible in his eyes. It'll hurt, I managed to say. This whole situation made me feel awkward. I don't like talking about my eating problems that much. I mean, I don't eat much because I wasn't fed, so when I do eat my stomach rejects it because it's not used to eating large quantities. It's simple. Midoriya, if you eat properly then your stomach will expand and you'll be able to eat normally. So you're telling me, if I eat this right now, it won't be so hard to eat again. That should be the case, yes. Todoroki simply stated. I nodded, then picked up my fork and stared at the food on it. I don't think so. I'm blaming you if I end up stuck in the bathroom later with my head over the toilet. I took a few bites, 2 at most, then stopped when I noticed Todoroki giving me a certain look. Midoriya, you need to eat a bit more, he said. I can't, at least try. I can't. Okay, how about one more bite? I inhaled deeply as I glared at him. What part of I can't do you not understand? If I say can't, then I can't and I will not force myself. Midoriya, how else are we gonna fix this problem? Did I not tell you that I didn't need to be fixed? I'm perfectly fine with how I am, so leave me alone. I spoke in a firm tone. I dug my phone out of my pocket as I felt it vibrate against my thigh. Not even bothering to look at Todoroki to see his reaction to me. I then read a text message from 𝗬𝗲𝗵𝗲 stating that Iida was being held at the base. Finally. Something went right today. Now I have a new pet. I wonder how they even managed to catch him. That guy is Sonic the Hedgehog, but with jet engines. Alright Shoto, now it's really time to get going. I have a date with a branding iron and kitchen knife, I said as I got up and walked out of the cafe, not bothering to wait for him. He soon caught up with me and cleared his throat to let me know that he was behind me. We got to the train station and waited in silence. It took about an hour for us to get back to the base, and when we did I quickly changed my clothes, then I sat at the bar area and did a mental head count to see who we've lost and who we still had. We mostly just lost a few thugs and of course Kurojiiri and Shigaraki. Midoriya. Shoto suddenly spoke out, making me lose my train of thought. Do you actually see yourself as a villain? He asked, not looking at me. He was sitting next to me with his head leaning against his fist. I guess villain is kind of what's the term I'm looking for, incorrect. Misguided? Understatement. I don't know, anyways. I see myself more like a vigilante in my own way, to be completely honest with you. But unlike the people that claim to be heroes nowadays, I am more willing to take risks, and I am willing to take drastic measures. And one of those drastic measures involves you killing my friend. I let out a deep sigh in disappointment. If I have to kill my new friend, then I will. Shigaraki might have been a little more patient, but I don't have time for this. Shoto, I thought we were friends. You and I. Ring any bells? I could see how nervous Shoto had gotten. His body had tensed up and he gripped tightly onto his knees. We are friends, Midoriya. Then act like it. I mean, it shouldn't be so difficult. All you have to do is support me. I'm not saying that we need to have a relationship like Kaken and I had, but just support me. I mean, I can support you. I can give you whatever you need. I can even get rid of your father for you. I looked at his face and noticed that his eyes had widened. A wide grin formed on my face. That caught your attention, didn't it? How about this? Because I am so nice, we'll take care of Endeavor first. I didn't want to get rid of him. I just wanted to break away from him and be myself. I want to live for myself and not for him. Boring, but I understand. I guess I can relate. It's like how I don't plan on killing Kaken. But anyway, back to your question from earlier. Have you ever realized that we the League don't go around destroying the city, but the heroes do? I mean, we do small things, but then the heroes come in using their quirks, which ends up blowing up a sh ton of buildings, and then within those buildings there are a sh ton of people. When the lives of those people are lost, we are to blame. I mean, thanks for adding people to my kill count. I have killed a few people within the 4 years that I've been considered missing, but 𝗵𝗻. What do you mean you don't want to kill Katsuki? I thought that was your entire motive, Todoroki asked. Kill Kaken. Are you nuts? I could never. At least not by myself. No, those aren't my intentions at all. I mean, he won't suffer if he just dies. Did you forget? Or did I not make my intentions clear? I thought I had made it clear what I was after. I want him to suffer like how he made me. I want to bully him. I want to hurt him. I want to make him feel powerless. I want him to feel worthless. He doesn't deserve to be a hero. He doesn't deserve to be happy. I followed him 𝗵𝗻 near my whole life. I praised him. I wanted to do nothing but to see him succeed, and what does he do to me? He leaves me behind. He kicked me down into the dirt and left me to rot. How can anyone like that possibly deserve to become a hero? The answer is he doesn't, and he isn't going to become one. Not while I'm still alive. I was brought out of my thoughts by a firm grip on my wrist. I looked up at Todoroki, who had a stern look on his face. But why is he looking at me like that? Was I talking out loud? Did I do something? I gave a confused look, then he raised my hand and I could see my hand balled into a fist with blood dripping from it. I couldn't help but laugh from the sight. I laughed so hard that I had bent over from a pain that was starting to erupt in my stomach. I'm sorry, I whispered with a wide grin on my face. To think that I could get so angry from my thoughts that I'd hurt myself. It's hilarious. Oh, how that young, innocent, and naive child has fallen, or maybe, it's the opposite. Maybe, I'm just getting started. Todoroki looked at me confused as he hesitantly let go of my wrist. I stood there quietly for a moment, looking at the ground, still maintaining the same grin on my face. Maybe he thinks I've truly lost it now. Oh, I'm sorry that you had to see that, but what is a quirkless boy to do? The former leader is now missing in action. I don't get to kill him like I originally planned, which means that he can come back and ruin everything later on. This kind of stuff makes my head spin and my BLD boil. But you know what? It's okay. I can work with this. Let's look on the bright side. Izuku, you have a new pet to take your frustrations out on, and you succeeded in making the heroes seem incompetent. I suddenly got an idea and gasped as I slowly turned back to my half-cold, half-hot friend. Don't put anywhere. I have an amazing idea. I quickly walked out of the room and walked down the empty hallway. I walked until I came to a complete stop in front of one particular room. I slowly and quietly opened the door and found Iida chained to a chair. I was now back in the same room that I killed that annoying yet cute rosy-cheeked girl. I still remember her telling me that stupid SHT that she said to me when we met. You can be anything you want to be. Grow up. I tried doing just that, and look at where I am now. It's okay. I guess I can say that I'm living my best life. Nobody's POV. Izuku slowly walked into the room, and as he got closer to the limp body that was tied to a chair, he heard him speak up. Do your worst, villain. But I won't talk, and neither will I abandon my classmates. Do my worst. The class representative perked up and looked at the green-eyed boy and inspected him just to confirm who he was talking to. Izuku wore black jeans and a red-collared shirt. His nails were black and the tips of his hair were red, and one of his ears were pierced. Midoriya. Is it really you? Of course it's me, Iida. I'm the only quirkless boy in this place that looks like this from what I know. I'm so glad that you're okay. They didn't hurt you too badly, did they? He asked with concern in his voice. I should be asking you that. You're the one tied to a chair. Oh, and before you ask, Todoroki is fine too. That's great. As the class representative, I'd be upset if anything happened to my classmate and a civilian that was caught in the mix. Please untie me, Midoriya, so that we can get Todoroki and escape from this place. Caught in the mix. You got it all wrong, Iida. I didn't get caught in the mix. What do you mean? Well, what I'm saying is none of us are leaving. We're gonna stay here together. What? What? You keep saying what? But what you should be asking is how and why, so let's talk, shall we? So, there is no possible way out. But the heroes will dash. What heroes? Oh, you mean the ones that are incapable of saving all three of us? Do you mean the ones that were incapable of finding me and bringing me back home 4 years ago? Or maybe do you mean the heroes that couldn't save that poor friend of yours from her tragic demise? The heroes that you speak of seem more like incompetent fools than heroes. I mean, they couldn't protect the life of an innocent. They destroy more than normal thugs or villains do from what I've seen, and they couldn't even keep 3 of their students safe. What makes you think that they'll be able to save you and Todoroki? They will save us. They'll save you too, Midoriya. You just need to have faith in them. Izuku let out a light chuckle filled with malice. It's too late for me, Iida. 4 years I've waited. There is no saving me now because you see, I've chosen my path. The path that I've chosen is, well, let's just say it's a little extreme. It's a path that would be frowned upon most likely. What have they done to you? You must be under some kind of mind control. Mind control? Shh. Izuku pulled out a small black book from his pocket and skimmed through it. According to my 1 out of AF ton of quirk analysis journals, the only person I know of with a mind control quirk would be. He soon stopped on a page giving him the information of the brainwashing quirk. Here it is. Shinso Hitoshi, another you. A high student in the general department, class 1C. That would be interesting to have in our group, but we'll see. Can you tell me something, Midoriya? What? Who killed Ochako? Izuku smiled and walked around Iida in a complete circle. Who killed Ochako? That was the name of the girl that I mentioned earlier, right? Instead of just telling you, I think I'll give you a gift. Izuku quickly walked out of the room and shouted for Todoroki to come to him. Once the half-cold, half-hot boy met up with Izuku in the hallway, the green-eyed boy motioned for him to follow. Izuku walked back to his cold, dark room and grabbed a medium-sized glass tank that was covered with a red blanket. I want you to see this too, Shoto, so follow me. Shoto simply nodded and followed the boy back to the room that Iida was being held. Todoroki, you really are okay? Iida looked at the boy with relief on his face. I am. Shoto gave a slight smile, but it soon disappeared when he noticed that Izuku looked annoyed. How can the presence of a friend possibly give you a sense of relief considering the situation that you're in? The green-haired boy thought to himself. Izuku cleared his throat, then gave a fake smile as he began to speak once again. So, ready for your gift? I guess you can say that this gift is for both of you, which is why I wanted you in here, Shoto. Izuku sat the glass tank on a table across from where Iida had been sitting. Then he smirked as he removed the blanket. Tada! Both of them held looks of pure shock and disgust. Iida could feel knots forming in his stomach, and he looked as if he were about to puke. What monster did this? Iida shouted, which only made Izuku giggle. You're the one that killed her? Todoroki asked. I did, Shoto. I put a rope above that exact beam that Iida is sitting underneath. I tied the other end to her neck, then I pulled on it until I heard a little snap, crackle, pop. Then I felt slightly bad, so I thought to myself, why not keep her here with me? How could you do this to her? What are you after? Well, I could tell you what I'm after and how I plan to achieve my goals, but that would be stupid. Now, how about you keep your pee-pee hole shut and let me finish talking? Izuku saw tears start to stream down Iida's face in anger, so he calmly walked over to him, not caring that the male tensed up with each step that he took. Holy 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗍, are you crying? But I didn't know that the girl meant so much to you. There's no need for tears, she's still here. You're sick. Maybe. She loved you. So, how could you do this to someone that loved you? Iida, she didn't love me. She did. You were all she talked about after you two had met. She always talked about how kind and funny you were. She was excited to hang out with you and wanted us all to be friends with you because she had said that you were lonely. Izuku stayed quiet as Iida talked. Todoroki remained away from the two on the other side of the room. There was nothing he could do, he couldn't back out. He was stuck. There was a long pause before a small giggle could be heard, then it turned into full-blown laughter. She did not love me at all, Iida. You want to know what she fell in love with? A lie, a stupid lie. I lied to her the moment I met her. She fell in love with deception, a hoax, a completely false reality. She was so naive that it was adorable. Yet, her naivety led her to an early grave, but she's not the only one to blame in this case now, is she? Izuku spoke in a tremulous voice. What are you getting at? As the class representative, you must know that it is your job to watch over your classmates. You failed her. You're supposed to see through lies to maintain the safety of your classmates. You failed. Not only could you not save Uraraka, but you couldn't see through my cold dead eyes that I am a cold-blooded murderer. If anything, I say you're the monster. You failed your classmate, and because of your failure, she died. I think that you should be ashamed of yourself. You being so careless is what caused her death. You should take this as a lesson, Iida. What did you learn today? Your answer being, I learned that not everyone is who they say they are and that the world that we live in is a cruel place and non-forgiving. He taunted. Iida clenched his teeth and glared at the ground, angry at himself for his failure. Oh, but don't worry, Iida, I brought you here so that I can fulfill her final wish. As she died, she was constantly begging for someone to save her. Yet she was sad and angry because nobody came for her, just like I had said. But because heroes nowadays are incompetent and overrated. Anyway, I'm gonna seek revenge for her. She's especially angry at you since you never came for her class rep, so let's see if I can cut those engines from your calves. A hero that can't save anyone, including himself, isn't deserving of a quirk anyways.